This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HRH Combat Arms. They can turn your vision into reality. They specialize in gunsmithing and Cerakoting. Your Cerakote specialist is Air Force veteran and retired police sergeant Paul Ware, a.k.a. the Sarge. He can Cerakote your firearms, auto parts, tools, even your sports equipment. And then your master gunsmith is Marine veteran Steve Miller. This veteran-owned business is located at 5025 Saunders Suite, 103, Fort Worth, Texas, 76119. You can call them at 682-304-0363, and you can find them online at www.hrhcombatarms.com. That's www.hrhcombatarms.com. This podcast brought to you by Flock Safety, where technology can unite law enforcement and the communities we serve in the pursuit of a safer, more equitable society. Flock Safety builds devices that capture objective evidence, uses machine learning technology to uncover unbiased leads, and sends real-time alerts that prepare officers to be effective and efficient in the field. Look, guys, I'm a detective, and before they were ever a sponsor of the show, used Flock Safety every day. I used it countless times with the technology to include car thefts, package thefts, and violent incidents. If you're a patrol officer or a detective in dispatch, or even in command staff, you need to check out Flock Safety. These incredibly powerful devices are so much more than your average expensive license plate reader. They're solar powered, they can be installed virtually anywhere. In side-by-side tests, they are 30% more accurate than the old legacy license plate readers. They can capture multiple lanes of traffic, vehicles traveling 100 miles an hour. And the best part, they were built within the principled framework that never sells their data to third parties. And the exact same technology that I use every day is available for neighborhoods, businesses, law enforcement, and citizens of all sizes. Think about that. Members of the community use same tech so we can all work together in public and private partnership. If you want to learn more about Flock Safety, go to flocksafety.com/2cops. That's FLOCKSAFETY.com/2 and the word cops, COPS. flocksafety.com/2cops. There we go. All right. I had my mics muted there for a second. Welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine. Zentino will not be with us again today because this was a last-second impromptu podcast because I got a whole lot of new stuff going on here. I will dive into that in a second. First, I want to introduce my guest. I have Matt McMeans with me. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man.
All right.
Glad to be here.
A little weird, ain't it?
It is weird.
It is.
Seeing you every day, and then here we are.
I know.
Here we are.
I know. Yeah. So I actually work with Matt. We actually promoted together same time. Bottom of the barrel, but they took us. Yep. So here we are. But after that, or before that, Matt has had a long, interesting career. I would say it's more unique than most. He was a narcotics officer, and he had some unique experiences in narcotics. So we're going to dive into that today. Matt will give you a little bit of background on him. But before we jump into all that, I've had a lot of changes here at the show. First, let's give a shout out to TX. TX Barrel Proof Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Oh, my goodness. How's it taste?
That's amazing.
Isn't it? Oh, my God. Yeah. So I saw this at the store, and I was like, I got to get this. You know, I've always had TX sitting up here. I got the memorial bottle for Garrett.
Right.
And that's always up here. And once that empties out, I refill it with another one and just keep that bottle going. We got Eagle Rare up here. We got some other stuff, Novacek 84, but man.
I didn't know Novacek had his own.
Yeah. Actually had him on the show.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I ran into him buying that. He was selling it up at one of the stores, like promoting his own whiskey. And
right.
You know me, I'm a talker, so
yes.
One thing led to another, and he showed up on my podcast, so it was kind of neat. Flock Safety, y'all heard the commercial. It's the first time I really got to plug that commercial on there. I did record one other episode, like kind of when we were in between, if they were going to officially sponsor me or not. And I did that with Robin Krause. So Robin Krause was on here. Yeah, it was a good one. We talked about dispatch since he's a command over a dispatch unit. So talked about that. And, I went back and kind of put some flock safety stuff in there to kind of honor my contract before it even started.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure when that episode was going to air. So I was just covering my bases. But they still haven't sent me my swag bag they're supposed to send of the stuff, like the advertisement stuff. So I was going to put some stuff on the table, like I got my HRH Combat patches here. So if people physically watch it on YouTube, I'm repping, earning the sponsorship, as they would say. Well, I have nothing from Flock.
Well, as much as we use Flock,
I know,
every single day.
Yeah.
I would like to have some,
right?
Because I feel like I'm repping them every day,
bro.
They're in every single report. They're in every one of our arrest warrants,
yep.
or search warrants. It's always because of Flock. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
They've never talked to you, right? You're not a paid sponsor by them at all.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
I talked to them one time, and that's when I first got my in this capacity. I talked to them, and they were, and that goes back to who they are. When I first got authorization to use Flock, the local Flock rep called me like within 20 minutes, and because I had to put my phone number in, my desk number, and I got a phone call from a weird number, and I answered it, text McMeans, and it was a rep from Flock.
Yeah,
and he was just letting me know who he was my rep, and that he was happy if I had any questions, and I would have all the stuff that we have access to, that all these specialized websites and search engines and things like that as law enforcement we use. That was the only time anyone had ever called me, on their own without me requesting something to school me on how to use their product. And I was totally impressed, totally blown away at that point. I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
It's only gotten better.
That's what's cool about having people that I know use it come on the show, because it ain't just me up here preaching, because they're a paid sponsorship now, temporarily. We'll see if they like what I put out there. But I said many times, I'm not going to back anything on this show that I don't truly believe in. I'm not going to come up here repping some strip club or anything like that. For them to reach out and say, yeah, we want, I mean, it's just, it's awesome. It's an honor, and it's cool because now I can have other people come up here that use it and vouch for them, with nothing. You're not getting anything out of it. So maybe some swag now. I'll get you hooked up. Yeah. I heard they have some Hawaiian shirts. So
yeah, I was wondering where that came from, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. I told you his room gets hot, so I dress chill.
You told me that. I'm looking at my shorts. I'm like, I've got the 1990s shorts and the 2001s. Which one am I going to wear?
Yeah. That's is that a Patriot shirt?
It is. Yeah.
Bro.
Tonight, man, I don't know what to do right now since Brady left them. So and they're playing Tampa Bay tonight, man. So
are they really?
Tonight's going to be the most heavily watched NFL preseason or regular season game in history.
I bet
7:30.
Oh my God, yeah, dude, that's sweet.
And they're playing up there up north. Too.
Here's my argument for Brady: as much as people want to hate on it, I like him just because he played at Michigan. So I got the home court advantage with that. Right. He goes to New England and dominates. And just like any other team, like when Dallas Cowboys did really well, for their 3 years, in the 90s, and Buffalo Bills before that, they went to the Super Bowl like 3 years in a row. They didn't win any of them, but people jump on that bandwagon, and then they'll hate. The haters will hate on whoever is the quarterback or whoever's the running back or whatever it is. No, he wouldn't be that good if he didn't have that line, whatever it is. Brady goes to a losing team after winning all those Super Bowls and gets a Super Bowl ring his first year.
First year.
With a losing squad.
Right.
That is awesome. So I think that solidified him being the GOAT.
And he's my age. So he's about, I think, 9 months younger than me. So
he's 60.
Yeah, 62, I believe.
62. Okay.
Oldest
nice.
player ever.
So you can already draw on your retirement. That's cool.
But so that's, of course, I've been a Patriots guy for a minute now, man, since the Cowboys started going to prison left and right. But, seriously, when their moral compass dropped as far as it did, and I'll always be a Cowboys fan going up here, man, but I just don't follow them.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in the game today. I have no idea what the score was.
See, I've always followed the Lions, but my argument is somebody needs to. Yeah. Somebody needs to follow them. So
you need a little drum roll thing.
Oh,
whenever you,
all right.
there you go. I try to do it on the desk. It
all right.
doesn't work as well.
That's funny. Yeah. So that's sweet. I'm down for that game. What else was I going to mention? We were talking about the football, talking about Flock. We talked about the whiskey. There's something else. Oh, I'm trying out some new camera stuff. So I've got new lighting in here. I've manually entered in the camera like settings. So instead of just letting it do its auto shit, it's all manual right now.
Right on.
So
okay.
I didn't like Google how to do this. It was another person that does this stuff for a living, Chris Hatchett. Shout out. He told me what to do. So we're gonna see how it all looks after that. So you may look like more hot garbage than you already look.
I was gonna ask you about. Is there any way you can Photoshop me during this? Whenever.
Oh yeah, for sure. I plan on just. I mean, I'll cut you off at the shoulders since you don't have a neck. And if you guys are just listening to this podcast, this guy's, he's up there in age a little bit, 44. 45. Okay. So he's 45. And he's pretty fit for 45. Like muscle head, eats a lot of horse steak type guy. And
ostrich.
He doesn't have a neck. So I know you can't see him. He just doesn't, it's a head and then shoulders. Yeah. So I'm just jealous. I can't get that big. I can. I just don't have the dedication like you do. So I like your hat there, buddy.
It's the only one that didn't have something on it that had to do with things
work
related to our work.
Okay.
So
yeah.
It doesn't match. It's the first thing my wife said when I was walking out.
All right.
It doesn't really match. I'm like, I really don't care.
Looks fine.
I don't think you'd complain.
Nah.
Now after seeing what you're wearing,
right?
Golly,
you can't even get mad at that.
I had some shorts, some the Marine Corps silkies. They call them the silkies.
Oh yeah.
I got some just like that. I should have wore.
Oh, that would have been funny.
That would have been amazing.
I mean, at your age though, I think your boys may have flopped out.
I don't know, man.
Start hanging.
I've been hitting my legs a lot harder now, so I need to start showing them off. So.
Oh crap. What else did I want to get into? There's some more stuff I wanted to talk about. Let me move this. This is our ice cubes and our water in it. So we're enjoying the sweet, mellow whiskey here.
You need a nipple on yours, brother.
No, not yet, sir. But at any time, there's 2 more cubes in here, a little bit of water, so you get a splash of water and fill yourself up there. Let me get that lid for you, bud. There we go. Okay, so let's dive in. First, Matt, how long have you been a police officer, sir?
Well, I put this lid back on here. I was on with the smaller department for about 9 months. Put myself through the police academy after I got out of the Marine Corps, and put myself to the Marine Police Academy and got my certification. I think I was 3 out of 40 out of my class that actually passed the T-close test, T-close back then, and got on with Kennedale PD, and lasted 9 months. And it just wasn't, at the time I was young, there was stuff going on internally. And
there you go. Just changing your game.
Yeah.
Keep wandering away from the mic. So
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm getting a dip of snuff. But yeah, so I did that, and then it just wasn't working out, man. And so I joined the Army. I did 4 years in the Army. I was an infantry guy. And, while I was in the Army, my last duty station was in Korea. I did 13 months, Camp Casey, 2nd Infantry Division, second to none. And from there, I was going to ETS out with I was married. I was about to get married. I've been with this little girl, and we were getting married when I got back, and she wanted me to get out, and that's why I got out. But anyway, so ETS from Korea, and while I was over there, I put in a whole bunch of my dad was like, he was still alive back then, get on with the city somewhere with, I hadn't even thought about being a police officer. He was like, get on with the water department, street department, somewhere your pension, da-da-da-da-da. And so I did. I put in with all these cities, man. And my gosh, I was getting all these letters back. And this was right before they gave me a month to find a job. You know how it is.
Right.
Overseas, and I was not going to have a job. It was second the plane landed. I think I was going to have maybe a week left of time, and I was done. And so I got all these letters in, and all over saying the same thing. Sorry, man, We understand that you're a leader in the military, you're an NCO, blah, 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 in the infantry world, but you don't have any experience in filling potholes.
Right.
So, and later on down the road, a few months later, I was I got a job with a uniform company putting floor mats and stuff out. And I got a random email about 2 or 3 months after I landed from the city of basically saying, test is coming up. And if I would be interested, I guess it was like I don't know, spam, but since I put in with their water and street department, because I just got the email, saying so.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck, man? Might as well see what happens.
Yeah.
And I put in, and I never thought about putting in with, I never really did. It was kind of an intimidating factor, when I was a little town of Kennedale police, and didn't have what it took. I thought to be. I just heard horror stories about how many people applied and all that kind of stuff, and didn't know if I had the qualifications for it. And evidently I did. So, within however many 5-6 months, whatever it was, before I was standing in the police academy.
Nice.
Like everybody else. That was in 2004, early 2004.
So you finalized your police, like where you were going to work in 2004?
Yeah, that was, I got hired in 2004 and graduated police academy in 2004.
So prior to that, where are you from originally? You a Texas boy, native?
Yeah, I was born out in West Texas, and my dad was he was a captain with Ector County Sheriff's Department, patrol captain, and before that he was highway patrol. My great grandfather, my great uncle, I always look at him as a grandfather when I think of his pictures and stuff, but he was a Texas Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
I've got several cousins that are locally that are police officers now. They kind of fall in suit with me. It just runs in the family, man. Either a police officer, a teacher, or a preacher in our family, Baptist preacher. Yeah.
Did you always know police work, or were you like service of some sort, military, whatever it's going to be? But
no, I in our family, it's our family was really good with, public service.
Okay.
Or whatever it might possibly be, whether it's through the church or. With my dad, God bless his soul. He graduated the DPS Academy as a high patrolman in 1959.
Okay.
He was a little older when he had me. And, he did that for, I think 10 years. And then he was a patrol. This is when people kind of, I think he was making $400 a month or something like that. And he was going through divorce kind of thing. So he bounced. He was those typical guys back then that kind of bounced around a little bit. And
yeah.
He went to Irving PD, and I got hired on with Irving as a sergeant, and that's where he met my mom, and she was a newspaper reporter for Dallas Morning News.
Okay.
For the crime reporter. And so that's how they met, at the Irving police station. It's kind of weird. And that's when he got offered the job by an old Texas Ranger friend of his that was the sheriff out there, Ector County. It was from DPS days. And come on out, you'll be a captain, you'll make 3 times more money. But it was Odessa area, man, and that's where I was from. Then we moved down here when I was in elementary school and to Grand Prairie. Mm-hmm. My dad got out of law enforcement, and he ended up going back in. Later on down the road, it was a deputy with Tarrant County for about 17 years before he passed.
Okay, and then I know you told me before you weren't just Army. You jumped into the Marines, right?
I started in the Marine Corps, yeah.
Okay,
and then that's. Like everybody else, I was 17. Got my parents' permission.
Okay.
Got signed up, and then that was just a short tour. Just didn't do anything crazy, didn't deploy or anything. And then you get out, and that's when I put myself through the academy and basically to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Because you think that's what you're supposed to do, kind of at that age. You're still wanting to get out and do things, and I just couldn't see myself going to college. Everybody, well, go to college, you got your GI Bill. And I did. I went to Mountain View Junior College, and I lasted maybe 3 weeks, and I just dropped out of everything. And,
yeah.
But everything I've been blessed, man. I really have. Everything I've ever really tried for has worked out. For the most part for me.
Yeah. So you graduate in 2004. You do your stint patrol like everybody else, and then. As you're doing the job, were there any paths within just being an officer, routes that you wanted to take? Was SWAT ever on the table? Was obviously you did Narcotics, and we'll get to that in a second. But
Yeah.
what were you looking at? What was the vision for your career as you started going?
Well, I'm like so many other people. I'm 6 months older than you, something like that. No, I grew up with the series Cops, like everybody else. I think it started filming '89, so I was like 13 years old.
Okay.
And of course, it was always filmed. A lot of it was filmed in
Yep.
the city that we worked for,
Mm-hmm.
and especially that particular side of town. There's always particular, east side and north side,
Yeah.
And so, that was what we watched on Saturday nights. And so whenever I got cut loose, and I trained on that side. I trained in East. So when I got cut loose, I got asked, what side of town you want to work? And I was like, I want to work East side.
Yeah.
Because that's what I watched on TV for so long. And I had trained over there, and I don't remember if that was my ghost phase or not, but I had a really good FTO over there. And so he got me into a lot of stuff. But, I think that once you get over there, it doesn't take long to start realizing what you enjoy doing as far as going to work every day, what you think about the most while you're at home. And I worked with, my gosh, man, again, I have been 100% blessed in this department. I have yet to work with a unit yet that the people I worked with or surrounded myself with weren't just top-notch police officers, hands down.
Yeah.
The guys over there from McCreary to O'Brien to Sutherland really had some get out there and do things. Brad Coleman, of course, everybody higher rankings now,
Right.
But,
you're catching up.
I'm trying to catch up now. They did it the right way. But, I lived, breathed, me and Daniel McCreary. Again, one of the Little McCreary, man. He was, he was a class ahead of me, and so when I got cut, I kind of stuck to his hip just a little bit, just because he was how I wanted to be as far as, or how I knew I was. I like to work, and I like to get out there, and I like to, if there was a foot chase, we're going to foot chase them, and if they want to fight, we didn't run away back then.
Right. I want people to understand he's big, and I have witnessed a body cam video of him chasing after a suspect on foot and giggling and laughing, trying to tell this old boy to stop running. As I even believe he gave out a yeehaw or let's get it or something to that effect as he's running after this guy, which goes to the mindset and some of this, like the point of the show is to bridge gaps between us and the community. And I want them to understand, like, not all cops are out there with this malicious intent, like, ooh, you made me chase you, so an ass whooping's coming with it.
Yeah, exactly.
There was that the way I wish that video would be a training video nationwide, because it's a testament to this job isn't personal. You're a bad guy. You ran. My job's to chase you.
Right.
Well, damn it. I can let my mind flip and go into fight or flight mode, or I can look at it as this is part of the job. It's just business. Yeah. So I'm going to have fun while I do it. And that's what you did. By keeping your mind that way, your use of force is going to be way less because you're not ramped up.
Well, and it's you're 100% on. You hit it on the head, and you hit it on the head so much so that I actually got an email from a DC that, of course, it's a use of force nowadays, and so everybody and their brother has to review it.
Yeah,
and I got an actual email from a DC saying. It was an LOL kind of one. He was like, wow, it was so enlightening to, I forget exactly the word, just see this video, to see that patrol officers basically still having fun, but at the same time, you can handle it professionally. Yeah, because once I caught the guy, I got him to the ground really fast. Mm-hmm. And I was telling him the whole time, you need to get on the ground. You need to get on the ground. I'm going to get you. Here I come. That was my wording.
Yeah.
And then once I did get to him, I got him on the ground, and it was rough. It is what it is. It's on the video. But immediately I started talking to him. I didn't jump on him. I didn't have to. He knew what time it was. And got him cuffed really fast. And it was 100 degrees outside on the concrete on the street, in the middle of the street. So, you hear me saying, hey, man, let's get him off the ground. Let's get him off this hot concrete. Let's get him in an air-conditioned car.
Yeah.
And that's, the fun was, I'm not going to lie, the fun is the chase.
Yeah.
But, we still have to respect the people on the streets.
Yeah.
we still put our pants on one leg at a time, man, just like everybody else does. And that's something we all got to remember.
Yeah. And I just, the spirit of it, like I could tell in the video that you were truly having fun.
It was fun.
In a, like you say, it's a funny way to put it, in a professional way. Cause you were, it was like a cartoon. You're like, I'm gonna get you. I'm coming. I'm right behind you. I'm right there. You better stop. Like the whole time and I'm not joking, guys. Like I'm serious. It was funny. It was funny to watch. And, because you don't see it that often. And, like I said, I think it would be a good training video, but it takes years of experience to get your mind around that.
Yeah, it's a lot of foot chases. It's being able, and that just not just for saying, having fun like that, but getting in that mindset of when you do chase after somebody, especially right off the bat, making sure you remember to say, stop, police.
Yeah.
And then trying to remember to say it as you're trying to catch your breath. If it's a super long pursuit, which we've all had, that one that just keeps on coming, man. It was like, you can finally start hearing the sirens, people coming to your rescue or come to help with set up the perimeter and all that stuff. But you're already winded, but you're still trying to, say certain things or, whatever.
The thing I've been trying to do is I've always been a big proponent of the body cam. I love them. I trained myself to, like, back before they would automatically turn on, or, like before it was required that you turn it on, like well before you ever get to the call. I had trained myself, like, it was a double tap to turn it on. So I was all the time, like as soon as something was popped, like I was already there. I already had it turned on. But now I'm narrating. Like, okay, now I'm good. Like I'm Morgan Freeman on the I like Morgan Freeman in my body cam, and it helps me out so much just as a detective,
right?
Like, because you're doing your own cases sometimes, and I'm like, dang it, what was I doing there? And then all of a sudden, I come across and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna, I'm looking in the master bedroom now. I'm going to the closet to look through there. Right. And now I'm like, okay, that's what room I was in. I couldn't, I didn't write it down. I forgot to write it down, any of that. So narrating your videos is also, that's a pro tip for anybody out there. Start narrating your videos. It just makes your life easier. And then if you have to go to court, then they can't say anything about, like, I'll even say my mindset. Like, it's hot. It's sweaty out right now. I'm a little winded, because I had to do 3 flights of stairs. I'm a little winded, I say that stuff out loud because it all makes, because
you never know when 5 minutes from now you're about to get into a fight, go hands on with somebody, and they want to know why you did X, Y, and Z, and you're like, well, I was tired. Well, how do you know you're tired? Well, I'm documenting the fact I just walked 3 flights of stairs. I couldn't find the apartment. I've walked around 101 degrees for the last 8 minutes trying to find this place. Finally find the apartments, walk upstairs. I immediately get attacked.
Yeah,
I was winded. You know? And so
I had to use a higher level of force. Yeah. So, this is what I meant to tell you. Hey, buddy, I got you a gift.
I saw that.
I went to the Kiss concert and we met the band, and I got
I saw where you were standing.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of those. So that's for you. I know I know when you were in high school and dating, like Kiss was huge. So
I remember before they started putting makeup on.
Yeah, when they came out, when we met them, they didn't have their makeup on. So I was like, I don't really want a picture now.
Yeah. Kind of ruined it.
Like, you ruined it. Like,
now y'all look 80.
Yeah,
really look your age.
They were chill though. They were pretty cool.
Those guys are amazing.
Yeah. So, side note, we'll go down a little rabbit hole at the concert working, right? One of them, I don't know which one. It wasn't Gene Simmons. The only one I really know.
Paul Stanley.
It might have been Paul Stanley.
It's usually Paul Stanley.
Yeah, he flies across the crowd, and he's in this middle stage. So we're standing there, and we're in like this no man's land. Okay, so it's crowd behind us, crowd in front of us, and our job is just to keep this no man's land clear during this part. So we keep that clear while turn around. The spotlights are on him, but they're hitting us. And he sees us and he salutes us. So I was like, oh, that was cool. And then I look over and there's a little kid, dressed to the nine, just awesome. Makeup, everything. And he's with his dad, who's also maked up. And I'm talking, he's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 at the most. I think 4 or 5 is good range. And I start, like, when the spotlight came back around on him, I'm pointing at the little kid. And he's like, I'm just trying to get to see if he sees this kid, because this kid was awesome, right? So I make the dad and the kid come out to me. I'm like, just come over here. Like, he'll see you if you're here in no man's land.
Right.
So he's he's got 3 mics, so I'm waiting for him to come back to the mic that's facing us. And he's facing us, and I start pointing, and I squat down with the little kid, and then he points the kid, and he's like, come here. Oh, yeah, nice. So he pulls the kid over, gives him a bunch of those picks. You know, they throw those picks out all throughout the concert. But, I got the kid to come over. The kid had, like, some sort of sensory thing.
Oh, great.
No.
What'd you just do this kid?
Well, because when I looked at the kid, like, he wasn't really giving any emotion, and the dad yelled in my ear. He's like, he's got a sensory issue. He loves this stuff, but awesome. It just doesn't show it, you know? Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I was like, I just want to make sure that like we weren't overloading him or anything like that. It's like, no, this is the best. He's going to love it, you know? So I was like, all right, cool. So we did a good thing. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, of all people, you would be the one that does it too, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the security team that was down there wasn't real thrilled with me because they thought I was going to cause more people to come down. But I'm like, you know what? Like, you'll get over it. Like, yeah. I'm the reason. If I wasn't enough, they wouldn't have me out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a reason they have police out there as well. So, and we had no issues. You know, it was a great crowd. Holy shit, they still got it too. By the way.
Oh yeah, I saw them 3 years ago. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Dude. They opened up, or Aerosmith opened up for them. I went and saw that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. They were like, I was telling one of the guys I was working with, Tony Maldonado. Funny thing, guys, he was on, I think, the first season of Cops or second season, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so he was the one that had the woman who bought the bad crack.
The bad
got the fake crack, whatever, and he was she wanted to file push board.
Yeah, he's like, you want me to get your money back because she sold you bad crack or something like that?
She took your money.
Yeah, so he's going to come on, and he's going to talk. Like, that's what the whole episode's going to be about, is him talking about what it was like to be on the old Cops episodes and stuff like that. So
we have a lot you could talk to about those guys. We have a lot of those guys still at the department.
Yeah, closer. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's fine if you want to move back. Just pull it towards you.
It's just having this hard thing in front of my face.
Yeah, you should be used to it.
No, I don't know. Oh goodness.
So, so the Kiss concert was.
Yeah, I was super jealous. All those pictures, man.
Dude, and I was telling Maldo. That's what I was getting to. I was telling Maldo. I was like, hey, man, I don't really care for Kiss. Right. Like I like one song, Rock and Roll Party All Night, whatever that. I don't know.
And I can't stand that song because
it was overplayed.
70% of the song is that one verse,
right?
You know, I want to rock and roll all night. It's the whole freaking song.
Is it Party Every Day or part of Every Day?
Yeah. The old when they got older, it became part of every day.
Yeah,
once they passed 50.
I think that's one of the reasons they've lasted so long is they were smart about it. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, Gene Simmons, man, he's been smart about everything. His money, his finances, and the guy's a freaking genius, dude, man. When
they were done, he came out like when we met him. He was in a robe with the hood up, like big, like thick, robe and slides. I mean, just no shit's given, man. He was like,
they don't care,
yeah. But yeah, dude, they were awesome. And then like as the songs are playing, I'm like, oh, dude, I like this song. Oh yeah, I remember this one too. Yeah, okay. And as it goes, like we're talking 8 songs, 9 songs, and I'm like, I didn't know I knew so many damn Kiss songs. Right. You just don't think about it.
My first recollection of Kiss was probably 1979. I was 3 years old, believe it or not, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
because I remember we were still in Odessa. And they came on TV, and I remember my dad, I was sitting in his lap, and he told me that they were guys. They had makeup on and all that, I really didn't know. I was a kid. But I remember that moment. My dad told me they were guys. And, of course, he's not a Kiss fan. And he was like, we don't like them, because of this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, okay, Dad, And that was my first impression. And, of course, a couple, 3 years later, then – LA Rock got popular when I was old enough to know it. When I was old enough to watch MTV at that point.
Yeah.
81, 82, 83. Everybody wore makeup and had the long hair and bangs and all that.
Did you have long hair?
Oh, man. Okay. No, I never did that, man.
Hold on one second. I just thought about something that, see the can lights on the ceiling?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to keep those off.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn those off. We're at 34 minutes and 27 seconds in.
I thought you were going to say you were going to give me a spit cup.
And I just want to see what the lighting difference is going to be through the video after that, because this is a building process.
No, I got it, man. I'm enjoying it so far.
Personally, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference.
You look more handsome.
Thank you. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but and most people just listen. They don't physically watch the show, but that's okay. But if you'd like a dip cup, sir,
I would love it. I'm not going to spit in that. It's too nice, man.
It's metal and it washes.
It does wash. Can I use the lid?
Do you want the lid? I don't care.
Well,
you're going to wash it afterwards. It don't matter. So
I spit in my coffee cup all the time.
Yeah. I got that cup for free anyway.
So you're saying it's going home with me?
Yeah, you can take it.
I need
Get less.
cup like that.
Yeah, get less clutter up here. I am ready for. Oh, I need this ice cube out of here though. Oh, they melded together. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, buddy. So after the Kiss concert, they still got it. Pretty cool. But let's press on. Let's press on to you. We're going down my rabbit holes. We need to go down your rabbit holes, sir. Shit.
We're still talking about work, right?
Yeah, we're still talking about work.
So
okay.
Holes, man, I don't know.
Hey, come on. This can be R-rated, not PG or X-rated. I mean, sir. Okay, so you do your patrol time and you get into a specialized unit, narcotics. Were you in a different unit before you got into NARC?
Not, man. I had a really awesome sergeant who let us. If we had guys that enjoyed chasing warrants. They would go into what our office is now. You had a big drawer and all the active warrants. Just a little bit more old school back then. You had a warrant drawer.
Yeah.
And there you could find warrants that had not been served yet. So you go and you find the juicy ones on the east side. They're all east side warrants.
So you didn't have computers to look up warrants? Oh, man.
Well, you do, but I mean, it's easier. I mean, what do you do? It's not like it is today.
Yeah.
You could go in there and like pull 5 of them out and go, burglary. Let's go find these guys tonight.
Right.
I don't know if this is going to work or not. I feel like I'm taking too much time with this now, but
okay.
Anyway, so
do what you got to do, man.
First world problems, man.
Yeah, tell your story.
But
take your spin.
I had a sergeant, and he ended up getting over to NARC. There was an opening, put in for it, and went over there, and that was just kind of one of my things. I enjoyed chasing dope, as a lot of guys did.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed working as much as a patrol officer could with CIs, as much as you could, informants. And, once he went over there, this was been in probably about 2000. This was the end of 2007. So I'd only had about almost just a little under 3 years on the streets. He calls me. I remember I was cutting my grass. And he was like, "Hey man, you want to come over on loan to NARC?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Come back, Monday morning, be there." And this was a different time when you could go on loan, and the good Lord's willing, you're going to be there full time as soon as there's an opening.
And you had a sergeant that knew you.
A sergeant that knew me.
Yeah. Knew your work ethic, knew all that stuff, knew your background.
He knew that, I was not just going to go over there and hang out and socialize. Yeah. I'm not going just to grow a beard, And so, I went over there and it was amazing. But, right off the bat, I'm basically on street level team.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything crazy, nothing. I'm not expecting to see kilos or anything like that.
Right.
Anything.
So how does it start out? Because, you got to keep in mind, there's a lot of cops that listen and they understand where you're going with it.
Yeah.
But let's think of it from the perspective of Joe Blow citizen out there, doesn't know anything about narcotics. Like, you get on the narcotics team. Now, how does it start out for you? Do you get out on the street and they're like, "So I would like one narcotics, sir. Do you have any category 1?"
No, well, just to finish just to wrap my little portion up there. I was only over there for about 15 or 16 months, and then they said no more on loan. They kicked me back to patrol, which was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I got back patrol, and immediately our captain then was like, "Hey, Garrett Hull and he was his partner then. There was ET, and Garrett was kind of like my go-to guy a lot for dope questions. They were doing the East Side dope, and so I basically kind of took over their spot, and they sent me back over to NARC again as basically an East Side liaison, and so I went to Mike Decker's team and to work dope on East and East Side only, supposedly. But of course, we know dope goes everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really hard to, but anyway, and so I did that again until I was able to get full time. They had an opening finally pop up. I got on, that lasted a few months, and then my wife left me. Was kind of falls in suit with, unfortunately, with that line of work.
Yeah.
And, I went back patrol to work some part-time jobs during the divorce. Got that done so I went back patrol for about a year and a half, and then went back to NARC again in 2011, and then I was there for 10 years, or 9 years at that point. So altogether about 10 and a half years or so.
Dang.
So, but it's been back, but the last stretch. But
yeah, that's a
yeah. Getting back to your question though, the way narcotics is just like anything else in this department, any department, it progresses. Sometimes it goes backwards a little bit, but things change. Just like general orders. Accidents happen, incidents happen, and because of such, things change and the way we do business. I was very fortunate enough that when I first came in to the NARC world, our lieutenant, Rangel, he was an awesome guy.
Yeah.
That guy loved the dope world. For somebody that was, he was, I think I want to say he started off as I know for a fact he was a sergeant in NARC because I knew him when I was a patrol officer. He was always on warrants and stuff, and he started as a sergeant. Then he promoted, stayed in NARC as lieutenant, and he had that old school mentality. He was doing NARC work back in, I guess, maybe the 80s, and when the SOP was probably like 2 pages, as opposed to 200 pages or 20 pages or whatever it is. And so when I got over there, the way the NARC was set up was truly, it's kind of like they had an SAU team, which was street level team, where you run around and you make pocket buys off the streets. It was, it was focused mainly on the undercover officer. You made your own buys as far as that level. You drove around and whatever side of town, you pick a side of town. One person would get, okay, this is your day, Mac. You're going to be behind today. Like when I was on the SCU team, I know my day, I think it was Thursday, and we met at the old narcotics office over on the North Loop. And so we'd all meet behind this building and early in the morning, and you had your little UC vehicle. I think mine was always like a little Ford Ranger I used a lot that we all kind of used. You dirty yourself up a little bit, whatever you got to do. And then you pull off and people follow behind you. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go to, West Side. And you kind of had your spots in West Side, that street level, they were selling on the corners. Or I'm going to go to East Side. Well, I sucked at buying crack. It was hard for me to buy crack.
Well.
Certainly, yeah. It didn't matter. I don't know what I could have done more.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that crack yet. And then on East Side, everybody knew me, as far as that. I remember pulling up. I saw this one guy, they called him Cockroach. And I saw him, he was standing outside the old Sunrise Apartments. They're burned down now, but over on Lancaster. And he was standing outside, and he had the white shirt, and he was, spinning it. I'm like, oh, yeah, here's this son guy. I'm going to grab him up, And I probably had back then I had the nice little red Jake White beard going.
Okay.
Yeah, the homeless look. And a little pickup truck, and I'm just picturing. I know I would have had the work hat, the hard hat sitting up on the dash, whatever, all trashed out inside.
Trying to make it look legit.
Oh yeah, like I'm on lunch break.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna buy me a crack rock real quick. So I pull.
Meanwhile, you're 230 pounds of muscle.
Well, yeah, and so I pull up to him and I roll the window down. And he walks up and he looks inside, like, hey, what you want, boss man? Or what you want, boss? And he looks up at me. He's like, Officer Means, come on, man. And I look and what can I say? So I legitimately just did the old, you got me.
You should have been like, I have a problem. Like,
yeah. No, it's what it is. I arrested him and his friends so many times. And
yeah.
That was my beat. That was Frank 12's beat for a long time. And so that just kind of made it hard on that side of town. So I had to stick with the other side of town a little bit more, But,
gotcha. So basically, if I'm getting this right, is it the entire narcotics team that's following you?
Yeah. It's I would be the main officer, the UC, and then you'd have everybody else would be like piggybacking each other.
Yeah. Are you mic'd up, or are you just handheld? Well,
what we had back then, we would have a coffee mug or something. I think one of the things that we used the most was an actual like a mug like this, and it had the little switching lids. It went back and forth, and open up, and when you opened it up, turned the mic on,
Oh.
it lit it up, and then when you close it, and of course we had somebody who was, you had somebody carrying the bag around with a little antenna on top. It's usually a sergeant, and listening to every word you say.
Okay.
And sitting on a pistol. You always have my pistol underneath my thigh.
Gotcha.
Because you would have what's called riders, and those guys that would be circling up, or you pull up. Hey man, I'm looking for some horror. What's up, man? And they just jump in. Like, oh, fuck, man.
Oh shit! Just jump in the car.
Yeah, just like I got a rider. And so if whoever's watching, you've always got a good eye. Somebody's always going to be watching. Somebody's going to be right there on top of you, watching. They're going to get on the radio real quick. Hey, we got a rider. We got a rider.
Yeah.
And then from there, he's going to take you somewhere, and he's going to want a pinch off. He's going to double up. He's going to take a little bit off your rock by the time it gets back to you, and then he's going to want like maybe $5 or something.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, though, that a lot of times ended up being the person that we arrested, and he wasn't even actually a dealer, because you never know. The guy leaves you and he jumps 2 or 3 fences and does this or that, and then he comes back to the rock. And a lot of times they don't come back, and then we have to spend the next 30 minutes trying to find a guy who burned us, and get our money back.
I got you.
But it is. So that's the SAU team, and then we had the Knock and Talk team. I was on that team for a little while.
Hold on. Before we jump to that, I want to get some clarification. So,
right on.
You get on this team, and I'm imagining they don't just say, all right, McMeans, jump in the car, you're going to go by. Like, you have to watch the show go on and watch the team, the people on the team that are already experienced in it, and you're kind of shadowing them?
Well, you would think so, but nobody really cares back then.
Okay.
It's kind of like, they just kind of throw you, either you swim or you drown, one of the two.
So I'm sure there's some embarrassing moments when you first start out or striking out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's lots of times where you catch yourself. I've said Roger talking to people.
10-4, brother.
No,
appreciate it.
You do it. And I especially on phone calls, when you're talking to people on the phone, when I get up, maybe what you might call the next level in the NARC world, you start working UCs and stuff, and start making some cold calls to some guys that you might have just got intro to, and you're talking to them, and you throw out a Roger that or copy or something. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what.
Sorry, man. I was military.
Yeah. That still don't sound good. That cover it. Man. You're right. Most of those sons of guns, they don't spend no time in the service, man.
That's funny.
So the way was back then, you had SAU, you had Knock and Talk team, then you had your complaint teams, and back then we had the TCNU team, Tarrant County Narcotics Unit, which was a really awesome team, and then you had your the RO's office, which was the DEA guys, and then you had the HIDA DEA guys, which was out of Irving, and at the time, those were the RO office was my goal. That was once I got into NARC, I was like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
But, it's, there was some officers that, we would go out and we would serve, when I got up to the SAU, to the knocking, what am I trying to say here, to the,
I just so you keep that in front of yourself, because I got a lot of times written down over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I didn't even catch that I said it.
I know, it's cool.
I got to the complaint team, and that's kind of one of those. You can kind of stay where you want to be, but the complaint team's where you're going to start working, and you're going to start getting all these informants and stuff, these CIs. Because when you're on a knock and talk team, you pop people and stuff. But historically, I ended up giving somebody hey, this guy wants to work, and so I'd call one of the guys on the complaint team and go, hey, this guy really wants to work. He doesn't want to catch a case. He knows X, Y, and Z. It's just somebody you might want to work. I've already checked his criminal history. He's workable. He's not on paper or nothing right now.
Okay. So explain that to people, because that's a common question that people will ask, like, how come this person can get their charges dropped? And, here my brother, he had a domestic violence against his girlfriend, and he's trying to make a deal because he knows where this, serial robber's at.
Right. Well, unfortunately, fortunately for us in the narcotics world, the cases are always state cases. It's a case against the state.
Not against an actual victim.
The victim is the state.
The victim is the state. And
so it's something that we have, I can file or I can't file it. Not me, but I'm an officer back then.
Yeah.
But, we can go forward with the case, or we don't have to go forward with the case.
Yeah.
It's up to us, But if it's a case, when somebody, whoops up on their wife, or domestic violence, or obviously sexual assault, homicides, ag assaults, things like that, man, that's the victim over here.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I've come across some people that were victims. I mean, who wanted to work. I got the phone call from an informant going, "Hey, I got a guy over here that really wants to work. He's this, that, and the other. I know for a fact that he's moving multiple kilos. I hear this or that, and he just caught a case for X, Y, and Z." And and then I called that department. I'm like, "Hey, man, this case over here is X, Y, and Z. What's going on with this case? Because this guy wants to work with us." And they're like, "Well, the case is not going anywhere right now. We don't have any cooperation from the victim, the supposed victim, and all that kind of stuff. And it's not going to, obviously, it's not even going to probably go anywhere." And at that point, on something like that, which was extremely rare, maybe 2 out of 3, maybe 2 times in my career, I actually got to work those guys. But other than that, those guys, screw them, feed them fish heads, go to jail. If you do something heinous like that.
Yeah, I know. I've heard people ask that question multiple times throughout my career. Like, I don't understand. I watch all these, TV shows, and these guys are getting deals. I don't understand how they're getting deals. I'm like, well, it's a state case. So
yeah, and in all honesty, man, it's kind of one of those. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, man. There were a lot of guys, some upper echelon guys, some bigger weight, and some lower guys, little guys, that screw you. You're going to jail. You're a bad dude.
Yeah.
You look at their criminal history while you're out there. You call, you call it up, find out what the criminal history is, and they've got, sexual assaults or anything with children,
right,
elderly, anything where they're obviously a heinous, some type of an abuser.
Yeah.
I'm not working with that guy. That guy does not deserve to be on the street. I don't care how many kilos this guy says he can get right now, or how many, ounces of crack or heroin or whatever he says he can get right now. You need to be in prison, man. And so we'll do what we can to get them in without, you're not going to get worked.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that have criminal histories, and it's mainly drug history, and if they want to work with me, and we're going to do it, and I'm going to utilize the hell out of that person.
Yeah. So one of the next logical questions would be, going down the line of progression in narcotics. Like you said, you start out, you're doing the street level buys, the team's following you up, and y'all take turns rotating out, I'm sure, whoever's day it is, and then you do the knock and talk team.
Right.
So the knock and talk teams, if I'm correct on the way this goes, is to get CIs, to start catching bigger fish. Is that the deal? Or
no, the knock and talk teams, man, in narcotics, it's kind of like being in the detective world. You get cases, you get complaints assigned to you every single day, and a lot of them are just BS.
Okay.
And a lot of them aren't.
So it's the community saying like, there's a drug dealer's house right here.
There's a guy living beside me, and this is going on. And I'll give you a prime example of why we have this going on. My partner at the time was Mendoza, little Ricky Mendoza.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was my partner, and
he's a bike sergeant now, right?
He's a sergeant. Yeah, I think he works.
He's the bike dude.
Yeah, I think so. And so,
he's a good dude.
Yeah, he was a hell of a guy, man. Yeah. Anyway, so he and I, we got a complaint. He and I just went to this class on oh my gosh, motion picture movie theater studios, the illegal recordings and
like bootleg videos,
and CD. We literally just went this class. It was like a 3 or 4 day class. It was an amazing class. And so right after we went to that class, the way it starts is he and I would be sitting in the office. We just sat beside each other, and we'd print out all of our complaints, and we'd put them in order, because this is MAPSCO days. Write up the MAPSCO page at the top of the paper.
Yeah.
And you put them by MAPSCO pages. And so you go in order. So you're kind of just in the same area, going from one complaint to another. And the whole point is you're trying to get there. The complaint can be, I think this house has got multiple vehicles every day, coming and going. They only stay for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, and then they leave. Once a week, this black Hummer pulls up, and this particular described person goes inside with a large briefcase or bag or McDonald bag and comes out with that.
Damn snitches.
And yeah, exactly. So you get those complaints, and Your job is to go out and investigate them. But all we're basically trying to do is get consent in these homes to search these homes. And so you have to be able to talk your way in these homes.
Okay.
And it truly takes some finesse and some, a little bit of word judo, whatever it's
Verbal
called.
judo.
Verbal judo.
Yeah.
To get in some of these homes. And it's a bunch of bunk, but we were successful.
It's just like when you arrest somebody out in the street or you haven't arrested them yet. Hey, you don't mind if I check your pockets, do you? No. Or I check your car. Can I search your car? Yeah, go ahead. And there's a kilo in the back. And you're like, you could have said no. Like, why did you say yes?
Yeah. Well, I would tell these people, and I do it nowadays too. It's like when I'm talking to them and I'm walking up to the house, and of course, if the complaint was, some of these complaints are really detailed. It's like my friend's been in this house and he's been buying cocaine from this guy. Okay, so I'm gonna walk up to the house. I'm gonna be like knocking on the door, and I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Officer McMeans with this police department, and man, my job is." Every single day I get 15 complaints, and my whole job is basically get these complaints out of the system. That's all I do. That's my job. And I got a complaint here, and basically the complaint states that, every 3 days somebody shows up here with 2 or 3 suitcases, and they believe it's going to be large quantities of marijuana. And even at this point, I would have expected at this point to be smelling marijuana, but I'm not even smelling marijuana right now. And so I want to get this complaint on the system so you guys don't have any more people coming to knock on your door, basically. And I want to get out of here as fast as I got here. And of course, they know they're not smuggling. They're not selling 2 or 3, suitcases full of marijuana a week.
Right.
And they don't want to be, having us come to their house. And so they're like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I have the consent form is already filled out basically by the time I went out. Before I walk up the door, everything is filled out except for where they got to sign. I'll give it to them, let them read it. They sign off on it real quick. And then I'm going in and with my partner. And we're not looking for, duffel bags full of marijuana. No, we're looking for anything that looks like drugs.
Yeah.
We're looking for paraphernalia, scales, cutting agents, particularly back then. Meth labs were big back then, particularly.
Pseudo.
Yeah, and of course most of us had gone to the infamous meth lab school up in Iowa by then, and which was a heck of a school.
Yeah.
Learned how to make meth for a week. And so this particular time we got a case, and getting back to that, so once you get in and you see paraphernalia or something laying around, now you got enough for a search warrant. And by then you tell them, hey man, you got this, and this. Yeah, we need to work here real quick because this is what's going to happen. I got enough for a search warrant right now. Tell me where stuff's at. And they give to you what you got, and then what they got, and then you get it, and then sure enough, more than likely you're going to end up giving them to somebody to work as an informant.
Yeah.
Okay. One particular time, right after me and little Ricky got out of that class, and I'm always going to call him little Ricky because that was his nickname back then.
I'm going to start calling him that.
But we went to a house, and it was going back to suitcases. The complaint, it was his complaint, and it was. So-and-so's people are showing up here every day, bringing suitcases and going in and coming out without suitcases. Pretty good complaint.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that sparks my curiosity.
It's a lot of traffic.
It's a lot of traffic, and it's a suitcase. Come on, man. What is these serial killers? Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. But,
right.
We couldn't do a whole lot of work up on the house. We get to the house, we do our little spill. The guy's like, yeah, I'm not doing any drugs here. So we walk in, and it was a 2-story house. And as we're walking in, every single bedroom, everywhere you looked, living rooms, bedrooms, dining room, was wall-to-wall tower burners. They're burning DVDs.
Yeah.
The tower ones where you could burn like 20, 30 at one time.
Right, yeah.
Wall-to-wall. And there was people. I was stationed in Korea for 13 months. It was like being in Korea, like totally all these people around computers and just like focused on burning stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what in this side of town? Something's up with this, And of course, the class is
God, it had to be hot in there too.
The class is dinging in my head. I'm like, okay. And we get to this one room of the house, and it's got its own door coming in from the outside, and it's a store. It has a cashier, the whole 9 yards, and it's nothing but movies and DVDs for sale.
Okay.
And CDs for sale. And then We do all this kind. We just the whole house. We went to the whole house, and that's all it was. They were burning movies, DVDs, and these movies. I looked at them in the store, and they weren't even. They're at the theater right now.
Oh,
yeah.
So they were out there videoing old school and putting them on.
Yeah, they're doing the Jerry Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
Going in there filming this stuff, or they're honestly more likely it's coming from overseas.
Speaking of Seinfeld, it's on Netflix now.
Oh,
I just saw that today.
My awesome wife bought me the whole series.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So you have DVDs?
Yes, unfortunately.
That's weird.
Do we? Or did she buy it on Amazon? I don't remember. Okay. I'm a big Seinfeld guy.
Heck yeah.
But so we walked. I remember he and I walked out on the porch, and he was like, "Man, no dope, man." I love Ricky, man. I was like, "Dude, that's a burn house, bro. We just went to class, man." Yeah. And he was like, "Oh my God, yeah, hell yeah."
Oh my God.
So we ended up calling all these guys up, and we got all these trailers out. We went back in. We got a search warrant for the house.
That's federal.
And well, here's the deal. That there's that company that does it. There's an ex-police officer with our department. He runs that whole company that does that, particularly works for the motion pictures, movie studios, whatever, for copyright infringements and all that. They do other stuff as well. Any kind of infringement as far as trademark names.
Yeah.
And they do all the investigations for that. So he was one of the guys that gave our class.
Yeah.
And so I had his card. So I called him up, and he obviously blew a lid, man.
Yeah.
So he grabbed his little crew. And I told him what we had, and he told me what we needed. He's like, "Y'all need trailers." So we got a quick search. We kind of locked the house down, got a search warrant, went in, picked everybody up, got everybody out, and it was an all-day affair unloading this house. And we took everything out, took it all back to our old office, which was like a big warehouse, NARC office. And those guys took over everything. It was amazing. And come to find out, I guess we should have known, but we didn't know who the suspects were when we got there on most of the complaints. The suspects were two brothers. One of them was there. One of them was already fled the state. They had warrants out there for their arrest, federal. I want to say it's federal warrants. There were complaints against them federally for that out of Dallas. And so they were real happy. They're going to pick that guy up. And obviously, this was a big case for them, but I mean, it was all off a dope complaint,
dude.
And we just kind of stumbled into it.
That's awesome.
In all honesty, had we not gone to that class, we'd have walked in, probably walked out, and gone, bunch of dorks.
Yeah,
like freaking dorks.
Right now, today you see something like that, they're all mining Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. You never know what you're going to walk into.
Right.
When you're doing that kind of stuff, man.
Okay. So you have the knock and talk team. I want to quickly touch on a narcotics unit is a self-sufficient unit. And what I mean by that is you have officers, you have detectives that are assigned to those units, right?
Right.
And then sergeant, lieutenant, all the way up. And you guys, you handle everything within, unless it's some sort of tactical danger, correct?
Well, yeah, and earlier on, we did 90% of our warrants we served ourselves. We all went through the it was like a 3-day tactical entry course for whatever that's worth. Me and Dominguez were always like the door guys, with the Rams. And so what we would do is once you got to the complaint teams, we would spend probably Monday through Wednesday, if I can remember correctly, you'd go and you'd make 2 or 3, you're on a team, you and a partner, and you go make as many buys as you can.
Yeah.
You go pick a CI up and on certain days, and you would go and try to make as many buys as you can with an informant. And then you'd write warrants as quick as you can. And then Thursday and Friday, we'd load up in these tac vans with all of our gear, and we'd go hit these warrants. As long as there wasn't some kind of weird circumstance, we know, we walk in and the CI walks in and the guy's got a gun. As soon as you walk in, he pats you down. Something like that, SWAT's going to be hitting that one. But for the most part, they're just trap houses or apartments. And so we would load up in these vans and we'd go and we'd hit these warrants, and we'd generally leave one or, at least 2 people, at minimum 2 people behind, the case agent and somebody else, and we'd go hit another one. That was a Thursday and Friday deal. That's what we did.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun. It was successful as far as what the citizens would want. The citizens want to see action. They, especially in the poorer neighborhoods, they see the drug activity constantly, and they don't see anything really that's
They don't see the patrol units out there.
No, and it's not the patrol's fault. The patrol's busy, and we're short. We've always been short, and then as any city is.
Yeah.
But when these complaints are coming in, you get these complaints as an NARC officer on the complaint team, and you're like, okay. So you find the CI, you're like, okay, my guy CI so and so lives in that neighborhood. Let's just run him by that house and see what happens.
Okay.
Shoot, made a buy. Oh wow. Well, but we would do one buy pops. You make a good buy, we're hitting that house.
Okay. So I'm glad you're bringing up CIs because that's going to be another thing that people want to understand. How do you get a CI? What are the precautions for them? What are the standards? Stuff like that. Like, just kind of give people an understanding that you're not just finding some poor sap out there and just abusing him, maybe you are. I don't know. I've never done that line of work. So tell me how it works.
Well, oh my gosh, CIs, man. I could write. Oh, not just me. Any person that's ever spent 6 months in narcotics can write multiple books on informants. I've had some really, really good ones, and I've had some that made me want to start a pistol every night. When I got home, they just beat the living hell out of you all day long when you're trying to deal with them.
Right.
But as far as informants are concerned, you get them various ways. I've had some with the attorney would call me. It's from a past case or something. Hey, I got this guy who wants to work his case. What do you think you can do with this guy? Well, let me find out something about him real quick, or it's going to meet real fast. But for the most part, you get your informants from police work, elbow grease, man. You gotta put your elbow work, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. You gotta get out there. You gotta put your feet on the ground.
Yeah, have another drink.
Yeah, right. Well, we were out at the Canton days today, so I was having some beers while I was out there today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Nice.
But if any new officer that would come in the narcotics world, if I was training them up or something, obviously they weren't as fortunate as like me coming in, where I was on loan and all that kind of stuff back in the day, where I kind of got a little slightly adjusted in, pulled. Yeah. These guys are coming in, they're getting dropped up, and they're going, hey, you're going to train up real quick, and then bam, you'd be doing some work, and they don't have any informants. And so part of being a senior narcotics officer, or at least whatever, somebody that's been around the block a couple times, you got to show these guys how to get informants, and the easiest way is to take these complaints and go sit on a house, and you're going to have to sit on a house for a minute, and it sucks. And a lot of people don't like doing that. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I love sitting on the house. It was my thing. I had my phone and I had everything, little app I needed to run license plates. I could call PIC. I could get on Clear Thompson Reuters, and I could, do whatever I needed to do. And then you see somebody go up on a house and you see them leave, and you've already got some really cool patrol officers, because you make sure you're friends with a lot of patrol officers different sides of the city. Hey, they're already staged up. This guy went up for 5 minutes. I've already run a tag expired or whatever, and I'm going to follow him off. Let's get him knocked down. Yeah. We're going to get in that vehicle one way or the other, lawfully, of course. And once you knock him down, this guy's a nobody to you, especially when you walk up. More than likely, they're going to tell you where the dope is when they just left the dope house.
Yeah.
I walk up to them, like, hey, how you doing? Officer McMeans, with this narcotics unit. And, what time was that one? There you go. And so they tell you where it's at and blah, blah, blah. And you get them out. Hey, man, I know you don't want to catch this case. You're nobody to me. I don't even know who you are. Let's talk about this for a minute here. And what you want to do, you want to vet them. You want to make sure their criminal history, make sure that exactly what we just got to talking about a minute ago. They're not child molesters. They're not, anything sexual assault. They're out.
Right.
Any kind of criminal history as far as violence, they're out. Now, I have worked guys that have been, I've had informants that have been hemmed up for attempted murder, but it was like 1991. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they've had nothing since.
Nothing since, yeah.
They got all, but that guy still has to get approved. All of them have to get approved. They have to go to the snitch committee. They got to get approved. That's what it's called, the snitch committee.
Okay.
They have to go before, your supervisor got to approve them first. And then it goes before the snitch committee, which is Tarrant County, and different people back then, and they changed over time. And the people that they approved will have changed, have evolved also. It's got a little harder of requirements and things. But, once they get approved, it's game on.
Yeah.
But, you have prostitutes, and these ain't pretty woman prostitutes like from the movie. These are the ones that are, it's nasty stuff. And you're having to have them in your car with you, and You said maybe later on you might have Jake White on.
Yeah.
He was my partner. He actually is the one that trained me up on the complaint teams. And we had this one particular CI that it was a female, kind of. And it was a close talker, just like Seinfeld episodes.
Okay, yeah.
And every time we picked this person up, and she was a prostitute.
She had man hands.
Yeah. But it was actually a guy in real life.
Okay.
But she looked like a chick, dressed like a chick, and perceived herself as a female on the streets.
Okay.
And had the boob job done and all that. And so when we would pick her up, she would always like get in our car. She'd always have like a big 40 ounce, and she was always drunk.
Okay.
And angry, super angry all the time. Excuse me. And back then, my car was this old black Mustang, and it was a nasty car, super old. The interior lining was always falling down on it, those kind of cars.
Yeah.
You could write your name in the felt.
Oh, yeah.
And she would sit in the back seat. We had to get out and let her in, and then she would lean forward, and her voice was like super deep. Like she'd be like, "Hey, I wanted to tell you about this guy last night that I got." And she would legitimately tell, and of course, Jake,
all the details.
She wouldn't. Jake would egg her on, and then he would like tell her to stop whenever she would like get. Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Jake was calm.
You gotta love what you do.
He do. And, he ended up becoming my narcotics sergeant later on down the road, several years later. Back in like 2019.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But to answer your question, as far as the CIs, there's, I've had them from being a street prostitute till I had one that was given to me by DEA down in South Texas, and that was probably 2008 or it's probably 2009, I guess. I got a phone call, and I was helping the FBI out of Dallas on an Aryan Brotherhood case, and they called me. I don't know how they got connected, but one of them called me up and they said, "Hey, we got this guy that's just got out. He was a dirty white boy, and he wants to work, and he's done some work for us down here. He kind of burned out down here. Finally, there's somebody you can use." And I said, "Well, if he's working, I'm just a low level." Complaint guy, and these guys are calling me up. I'm like, well, man, heck yeah, let me talk to this guy. And he and I hit it off real well. And, he ended up working for me for money. He wasn't working a case off or anything. He's out of the pen. He ended up working for me for years. He's talked to my wife several times over the phone, calling out. My wife knew him. Yeah. He'd call me all night. Hey, what's going on? Hey, and we just talk, he's been around so long, kind of start trusting the guys a lot more, unfortunately.
So, you weren't calling him a dirty white boy?
No, but this guy.
But for people listening,
I'm sorry, dirty white boy is a prison gang.
There you go.
That's a prison gang. He's a dirty white boy. It's a prison gang. Hey, I guess I should have clarified that. There's lots of prison gangs and guys that look like me, particularly back then. That was a big focus for us, whether it was the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, that we had some Nazi lowriders back then in the area. Dirty white boys and Aryan Circle, of course, and then you had your plethora of motorcycle clubs, outlaw motorcycle clubs, is what they called them. And in Texas back then, it was primarily the Banditos and all their support chapters, in the area. So
yeah,
but when you looked at I guess the reason I brought him up is when you looked at some of the CIs that I had that would legitimately have like a festering sore on their face because they were either a meth head or they're a street prostitute with. When they would get in, you legitimately wanted to ask them, "Hey, have you been infected with anything before you got my freaking car today?"
Yeah.
And then I had this guy who had 0 tattoos, nothing showing, period. But he had done 20 years in federal prison, as a leader of a particular gang, federal prison gang.
Yeah.
And when he took his shirt off, he was, from the neck down, had lots of ink, showing who he was. But he would wear a polo pullover, and he was in his late 50s, early 60s when I got him, or late 50s. He couldn't read or write, but he was a genius when it came to that world.
Yeah.
And he taught me everything. It was.
So to become a CI, like you can't just go up to somebody, "Hey, do you want to work for me?" And then they're like, "Yeah, I want to work for you." Okay, let's go. It doesn't work that way.
No. No, it's a little process. I mean, our big thing is you always want to work. And people, anybody watching this or listening to this, I don't know if it's mainly officers that watch this or listen to this. I'm not 100%. I know all that stuff, but we've watched. You guys have watched enough of those TV series that were out there, DEA or whatever.
The Wire.
Well, I'm talking about the legit shows. The ones that were like
The Wire.
No, I'm talking about the real when they had like cameras filming.
Oh, you mean like Cops, Live PD, SWAT.
The DEA one was out for a while, and that kind of irritated me. That show was out because it showed a lot of how we do things.
Okay.
That I was uncomfortable with. Particularly, a lot of times we were still doing UC work, so it's not as prevalent now. You don't do it all falls kind of on informants nowadays. Back then, you did a lot of UC work yourself. Your informant was there kind of as a way to introduce you to somebody, to the bad guys. And then once they got a couple buys in, they introduced you, and then you were able to go from there to get the hand-to-hand deliveries and kind of push your informant out. But I don't know where the heck I was going with that, man.
We were talking about how you get a CI. Like you can't just get somebody else.
Yeah, the whole point of it is just trying to work up the chain. And as far as the narcotics world, you want to work up the chain. Thank you for reminding me, man. I need to hit this a little bit more.
Hey, not a problem, buddy.
But you set something up. I got a case. I got something working. I call my sergeant up. I'm like, hey, Sarge, I got a CI or a snitch calling me up, man, out of Arlington. Says, hey, I got this guy I just left him at a game room. He's got a bird and a half, a kilo and a half of ice in his car, and he's looking for a buyer.
It's called a bird and a half.
A bird is a kilo.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a bird and a half. Man.
All right.
I'm like, all right, right on. How much is he pushing? You ask preliminary questions with your CI. It's like, well, how much is he asking for it? Does this guy, is he legit? You actually saw this? Well, tell me what the vehicle looks like. You want to get as much as you can prior to
making sure he's not full of shit.
Yeah, and if you got a good CI, if you're a good officer at what you do, not all the time. You could be a really good officer, but everybody makes mistakes. But I'm like, hey, if you still at the game room, yeah, I'm there. Go out, take a picture of his freaking license plate, and send it to me. I want to have all this prior to I start making anything move. At this point.
Yeah.
And so I, call my supervisor. I'm like, hey man, this is what's going on. I got snitched. They're out there at this game room right now, and they're out with this cat. He's got a bird and a half. I've already run the plate. The plate comes back to this guy. And it's going to be the same guy, or it's this guy, and this is going to be his son. I know who this person is now. He or she, the CI, sent me a picture off his Facebook. This is who it is. Get all your cards out there. All right, man, let's make this work. So he's got a bird and a half. This guy's picking up a little bit of weight,
Yeah.
And so let's try to make this work. So you try to set up a deal. Tell the guy something, whatever you got to tell him. Tell him, you got somebody that wants to pick up, and you got to go off. You got to trust your CIs a lot. You got to trust them a lot. Your good ones. Some of them I didn't trust, and then they were just good for going in homes and stuff like that. But my upper echelon ones, I trusted, because I knew that they wanted to make money, and the ones that had never burned me. You know what I mean? That never bullshitted me, or, oh, this guy's got 3 ounces on him right now, or he's got a key in his truck right now, and we stop him 5 seconds later, there's no key in the truck. You have zero street cred with me anymore, and we're done. But you get, at the end of the day, you set it up, say, I'm going to meet this guy, I want to buy this weight, or you set it up yourself, or have them set it up. And once you get them knocked down, you get a hold of the vehicle, it's a nonchalant traffic stop kind of thing. They cash bond them for whatever. Oh, lo and behold, look what we just found. We found this. And then is there narcotics officers working right now? Kind of thing, Oh, yeah, I'm happy to be around. So we always try to get them to come to Fort Worth, And once they get over to us, we start talking to them. And the whole point is just getting to the next person, man.
Yeah.
Unless, goes back to what I said earlier, unless this person was a bad guy.
Yeah.
If this guy's a really bad guy, then the buck stops right here.
Yeah.
This guy's going to go to jail, and he's going to get booked in for manufactured delivery controlled substance. Over 400 grams. Have a good life, man.
Yeah.
Or if it's something even better, sometimes I've had them, bring 3 keys, and the guy shows up. He's got a gun. He's got other things that fall under where I might be able to get a federal complaint on him. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to call the HIDA unit, or I'm going to call an RO officer over to the DA's office. I'm like, hey, this is what I've got. This guy has sat in my truck for the last 20 minutes. after he's Mirandized and telling me all these people that he can get. Unfortunately, he's got this, this, and this that I'm not going to work this guy. Maybe you guys might want to talk to him if nothing else, because he can get to all this other stuff.
Okay.
You know, and
Yeah.
kind of passed the buck along, but this guy's still going to jail.
So if you get a CI, you got somebody that you know you want to work, and you go through the administrative part, there's an approval process, correct?
Right. Snitch committee.
Snitch committee. So the snitch committee says, all right, he's good to go. Now he's on paper. That's what they call it.
Right.
He's an official CI. Do they all get paid? Is there parameters set like, hey, you got to snitch for this amount of time, or you got to snitch this?
No.
How does that work?
Man, you know, it's no, not really. Not at all. Yeah, you have your like your Lone Ranger guys that would call you. You know, a lot of my informants had worked for me for several years, and so they would call me and go, "Hey, my friend just got popped at Walmart. They were trying to steal something. They're not charging them with the theft. They're only going to charge them because once the police showed up, they had, you know, a teener of meth in their pocket or something, you know."
Okay.
And so they got that dope case. It's a state case, and it's a case. I'm sorry, man. It's a local case, and so, at that point, you know, you're like, okay, well, let me go talk to this guy. Have him call me.
Yeah.
You know, and so they'll call you because it's a local case. It's something I can possibly, I'm going to get a hold of the narcotics detective and go, hey, is there anything else to this? And if not, you know, it's somebody I can probably work. You know, I can probably go, hey, what can you do for me? And I'll get a lot from my informant too, going, hey, what can this person do? You're telling me, I know it's your friend, but what can they legitimately do? And a lot of them, even once I got to like an upper echelon where I was getting a lot more heavier weight, and I was kind of just looking for weight only, I still wanted to make my informants happy, the ones that were getting me in that weight. And so they might have their best friends since high school that that might only be able to get me at most, you know, a freaking half an ounce twice.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's all 8 balls and things like that. But it's going to make my good worker over here happy. And so I'm going to go the extra mile to do this for that person. And also get me this little informant over here that's going to get me some little houses. That's going to get me to some other people that I can work up also.
Okay.
You know, it's just a crazy, crazy freaking world. And, you know, it's always 90 miles an hour for me. It was.
Yeah.
Just work, you know, and you work all hours, all night. You know, you got your set hours, what the city tells you are your set hours. And, but in all honesty, you know, if say I was supposed to be getting off at 8 o'clock every night, which I think we work 10 to 8, 10 hours every day, 10 in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my CIs were calling me because they were just waking up, you know, going, hey, I got this going on. And so that goes back to, once again, the people you work with.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't, I wasn't by no means a one-man show. You know, I had the best teams ever.
Right.
I had guys like Bruce Anderson, Travis Verrett.
We had Bruce on the show, so it was a good one.
Yeah, Bruce Anderson. He was my partner. I got like maybe my second go around in NARC.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's supervisors. You know, and of course Travis. Going back to the officers, you had Travis Verrett, Bruce Anderson, Jake White was my trainer. You know, he was an amazing UC. He just fit the part. And then later on in the road, I had the Brad Danfords and guys like that were just a little bit older, but the supervisors, Fred Long, you know, Mike Decker, Sean LaCroix. Between Sean LaCroix and Fred Long, those guys
almost 6 foot combined.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. You're absolutely right. But they were the best. And I'll even throw in my military leaders.
Yeah,
they were true leaders. And I mean, those guys, man, they were just amazing. To this day, I can't think of anything else better to say. I would work for those guys outside of this department. Those guys were just amazing. I could call them up and go, because they love to work.
Yeah,
they love to work. They love the dope world, and to be a narcotics officer in a big city, you know, with as much work as we got. And if you got guys that want to work, and you call them up, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody's getting off at 8, and there's a football game that night or whatever, and you're like, hey, I got this deal going down. It's only for, you know, a pound of ice. You know, I know it's not, well, that's a lot, but
Yeah.
for y'all to stay, can y'all stay late? Because this guy's also, he's a Texas syndicate, and his uncle is with Sinaloa or whatever, Sinaloa cartel or what, you get to play, they're there.
Yeah.
They were there all the way. Yeah, we're here. And so everybody puts their families off, and next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and we're now at the property room. We've made 3 flips. We flipped 3 people in a row. We've got all this dope, all these different reports, all these, some people are arrested, some people are informants. We got CI packets. We've got all this craziness going on.
Yeah.
And we're trying to, trying to work, and they're right there beside you working. They're putting dope in, they're putting their name on paper.
Yeah.
Whereas, some other supervisors, any other supervisor, we'd be like, hey, call me in the morning.
Yeah.
Let me know how make sure let me know if there's any problems booking somebody in.
Yeah.
But no, those guys
so
never left.
I'm going back a little bit, but when you get a CI and they're trying to get out of some state charges or whatever, right. Is there a time frame? How does that work? How do they get the charge? Are the charges always just kind of being held over their head?
There's exactly. No, there's a time frame, but generally when you sit down with them, the nickel and dimers, man, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, hey, it's not the end of the world for you today, my friend. You said you want to cooperate. We have an actual informant packet. It's an actual huge CI confidential informant packet. There's a lot that goes into it. It's multiple pages, and it's a contract. It's a legitimate contract that they're signing, and you have to explain everything to them, that you're going to have to do a minimum of 5 buys. For a lot of them, particularly, it's just going to be, and it doesn't have to be, you got 5. We'll just say, you have 5 buys.
Just a generic number. Yeah.
Generic number, 5 buys, which is kind of historically how it is. You're going to have to get 5 licks for me. It could be 5 licks that I find or 5 licks that you find. But the faster we get this done, basically, the faster we get through this. And I don't want to see you ever again. That was always kind of my thing. I hope I never see you again in handcuffs, man. I think you're a good person. You can rule the world one day, legitimately.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to tell them. And they just want to sign it. Unfortunately, there's that, for me at least, 3 out of 10 never call you back. So you end up having to write the arrest warrants for them for basically breach of contract. But majority of them know what time it is already. They've been around the block enough times, or they've known somebody that's been around the block enough times. And so, man, that next morning, you're getting a freaking phone call. A lot of times I made them you have to do me something tonight. If you want to work for me tonight, and once I find out that they're legit as far as they're workable, outside of the paper, we'll do our initial couple forms in the beginning to make sure that they're on paper. And at that point, I was like, we're going to knock something out tonight. You're not going to go to jail tonight for that kilo I just got off you just delivered to me, but you better be calling me in the morning. You're going to have to call me in the morning.
Yeah.
But we're going to do something tonight. You're going to give me somebody tonight. And 9 times out of 10, I just said 3 out of 10, but 70% out of 10 on
math
on the upper echelon guys. The upper echelon guys, I'd always hear back immediately. I would say 9 times out of 10 on the upper echelon. Wait. Yeah. The crackheads, the lower ones, because there was a time, like, say, we got rid of our vice unit. The city did. And so, once a month, they would say, okay, team so-and-so, y'all going to, sometime this month, y'all going to have to go out and pick up some prostitutes.
Hey.
Oh, no, it sucked. It was so horrible. So we'd go out and we'd pick up prostitutes all night,
They're good source of information.
And that's, as narcotics officers, that's what I used them for.
Yeah.
And so, but unfortunately they wouldn't, you get a lot of them right then and there, and then they would never call you the next day.
I'd get in your car.
And I've got a funny story on it. When we get back to it, I've got a hilarious story on how I picked one up one night. It's a classic for me. And, Sean LaCroix will probably remember that one.
All right.
But
for those listening, there's stories that we can and cannot get into on this show. But this guy, everybody's got that guy around the office. And I just want you to understand who you're talking to and hearing on this show. When this guy starts to tell a story, it's one of those ones that it doesn't matter what everybody's doing. Eventually, everybody's around listening. And that's why I've been wanting to get him on here. because he's got so many of those stories. But
it's a lot of guys. But I've been in the department a long time.
That's true. But also, and I wanted to touch on this, people, because again, some people are just listening. They don't get to see you, so they don't understand. So he said earlier he looked the part, or looks a part. McMeans is a white dude, buff, bald, shaved head, I should say. I mean, the standard definition of what you may think of when somebody says skinhead or a Nazi or whatever they want to say. Unfortunately, for sure, man. No, not that he's not that type of dude. I tell you, he's one of the most compassionate, caring people I've ever met. And he even, when he was mentioning CIs earlier, he truly, like, I've seen how he is with CI. He's still in contact with CIs, guys. He hasn't been in narcotics in a long time. I know he's still in contact with his CIs because he cares about them. He truly does want them to get out of the life and all that stuff. So they still call him. Like, I'll be in the office asking him questions. Hold on, somebody's calling. And then here it is, a CI that he had from 10 years ago, that or even longer. So I don't want you to get the impression that officers are out there, they don't give a shit about their CIs or anything. This dude still has relationships. Didn't you go to a funeral, one of your CIs?
I did.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to bring up any sore subjects or anything like that, but I just want people to understand, like, we truly care. The whole reason we do this job is because we're trying to fix things and help people out. So sorry about that. Screensaver. I got a fix for that. Boom. There we go.
So easy.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Where were we at? We're talking about CIs on paper and working them, and
so as far as the CIs are concerned, they have to. You tell them, hey, you got five licks you got to get for me, man, and that's those 5 licks. It's I hope I never see you again.
Yeah,
and I legitimately, you mean that, because you don't. I would love to see the dope go away.
Yeah,
because it's not just dope. Dope means burglaries. Dope means theft. Dope means murders.
Yeah,
sexual assaults, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of these guys, now tell them, I'm like, hey, man, if I'm the one that has to constantly call you, and tell you, hey, I got this house over here, it's going to take a long time, man. And so the good ones are the ones that will call you up immediately and go, hey, they're going to take you to every house that they buy from in their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then once you get them in the car with you, and this is the things I used to try to teach some of these guys that were either training under me or new guys on my team or whatever. I'm like, man, don't treat these guys like assholes, man. These guys are human. Yeah, man, they're nobody you'd want to break bread with or anything like that. I definitely want to know where I live. But, I've seen officers, and good dope officers, man, that, they're good at their job. But when it comes to dealing with informants, they treat them like pieces of crap, And with me, I don't coddle them or anything, but I try to treat them like a human being.
Yeah.
Hence why I was able to keep the amount that I had for so many years. Even when I left the 2 times and came back, those people were anxious to work for me. And I've given I left Narcotics in December of 2019, and when I promoted. So it's been almost 2 years since I've been out, and I've given those people to other detectives, even detectives or narcotics guys at other agencies that have used them and have been like, these guys are freaking, of all the informants I've had, there's one particular one, but like, this guy you groomed this guy perfectly for me. I'm like, well, I didn't do it. I just treated him like a human.
Yeah.
I didn't treat him like a piece of crap. He was working for money at that point, and that's one of the things that, when you're working with these informants, it's in the beginning, 9 times out of 10, they're working their case off. But you got to have in the back of your mind that, man, if they're worth anything, this might be somebody that I might want to keep in my pocket once their case is done with, and I can put some money in their pocket and keep them working. Especially, some of these neighborhoods are hard to get into.
Yeah.
In our city, we have certain neighborhoods that are really, really hard to get into.
So CIs can be paid.
Yes. And so you have your paid informants, and then you have the ones that are working cases.
Where does that money come from?
It comes from an impress fund, you
Okay.
know, and of course that comes from, downtown.
Okay.
And
is the impress funds typically from seizures and stuff like that? How does that work? Because people are going to want to know. They're like, where is this money coming from that you're giving?
Don't get me lying, because you know how it works, man, when it comes with seized money, man.
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, it's great to say that every time we made these big seizures and stuff, we had an officer, Castaneda, man, made a huge seizure one time. And I would have loved to have said that money came back to our department. And you get when you seize money, you get X amount and the county gets X amount.
Okay.
And we always get the short end of the stick for the amount of work we put into it. But, I don't know where the money goes, to be honest with you. I mean, I know where it's supposed to go, but it's not coming back to us. I don't necessarily, I don't want to get the lying or speaking or out of I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't necessarily know the Impress Fund, particularly what fills that Impress Fund.
Okay.
But they have an Impress Fund that comes in. There's only X amount of people that for us, all the sergeants had access to that money.
You have to be trained.
Oh,
basically,
yeah.
There's a certification to touch the
Impress.
Impress.
It's a huge thing. The money's got to be secured in a safe. Only the supervisors that have access to who can actually allot the money out, they're the only ones that have the code, and every one of them has a separate code, I believe, to get into the safe. And then you got to check the money out, every week, and then you have to fill out receipts on every bit of money that's used. You got to explain where that money went.
Yeah.
To a T.
Mm-hmm.
And and hopefully, and if you know what you're doing in the beginning, it's crazy, especially if you're doing like vice work. Like we had to do a lot of vice work. We're going to, men's clubs and things like that, where you're buying drinks for girls and things like that. You're trying to keep up with your money.
Yeah.
And then you have to come back and explain.
That'd be stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be fun while you're doing it, but that'd be stressful to have to keep up with all the.
You would think it'd be fine.
Yeah. I would be stressed out the whole time. Like, I can't lose this money.
Yeah. And that's true. You don't because there has been times where you get done and at the end of the week you're trying to put your money and you're like, how am I short $25? I got all my receipts right here.
Yeah.
You're like, so
damn it.
Yeah, damn it. But there's nothing illegal or nothing like that. It was a crazy week, and you paid this. And when you paying informants and things like that are different. When you pay an informant, those forms and somebody's got people have to witness this stuff. I can't just go meet an informant by myself anymore. And anytime I meet an informant, I've got my partner with me, and so we go to this house over here, and I send the snitch up, and he goes and buys a $20 crack rock. He comes back out the car. I give him $50 cash, because he buys me a $20 rock.
That's a big size rock.
Yeah, no,
$20, man.
Man.
Well, I'm used to Flint, like cracks that you spending $5 to get a nice piece of rock, but
y'all are also selling like purified water too for like $100 a gram, right? Like water that won't kill you.
Why'd you have to bring water into this?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Dang,
too much talking.
People struggling over there.
You're absolutely right, man. Those crackheads are like the screw water.
You know what they're doing? I go down a little rabbit hole real quick.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of corruption up there, but after they get the money and they stole some of that money and those people got caught, right? They fix the pipes. And from my understanding, I think they fixed all the pipes finally, except for the pipe that leads from the city street to your house. That pipe, they're saying, is on the homeowners.
Oh, it's BS.
Right? Yeah.
That's so bull.
So you've got a city that's in dire straits because all the auto industry up and left. Yeah. And when that left, obviously that caused the crime because those that couldn't afford to escape, what else do you have?
Right.
So they're fucked. And then now you're like, okay, we did our part. You got to take care of that lead pipe that's killing your family that leads up to your house. Like, hopefully you still have a job and hopefully you got the money to fix it.
Right.
So messed up.
That's so bullshit, dude.
I know, dude.
Holy cow. I'm so glad we live in the North, all you freaking Yankees.
Yeah. Hey, man. I got to Texas as fast as I could.
Hey, I'm glad you're here, man.
I am.
I was in the military. Michigan puts a lot of cats in the service, man.
Yeah, they do.
And I had one of my best friends was from UP, man. And
see, that's a legit. Like that, when you think, this is how I want to put it for you. The Upper Peninsula is like your, it's the northern Yankee version of West Texas, where you've got the redneck that can fix any car, any piece of machinery. Like, that's the UP. Those dudes can figure out anything with duct tape and WD-40. That's all they need. So
yeah, this guy was legit, man.
Yeah.
And I went, this was when I was in the Army, And he totally got in like that whole Texas music thing. Cause I was with 27 Cav, first Cav out of Fort Hood. And so we were right by Austin. And so he was already country. And so the whole Pat Green, Corey Morrow, Texas Red Dirt music thing was going on. And he totally became a Texan. So last time I heard from him, I'd already gotten out and he was still living in Texas. He got out and was still living down here, man. Whatever.
They like that.
Yeah, it doesn't look real good on you, but I appreciate the
I got
effort.
one. I'm trying. Got my pointed out my cowboy hat.
We'll go out. I'll help you shape one, man.
Hey, I'm getting so I'm gonna go buy I'm hoping to get. I got Chad Prather coming on.
Okay.
So Chad Prather is gonna get on here, and he promised me a kind of the gray of your hat right now, like a gray cowboy hat like that.
Okay.
So because he told me, do you need more ice?
I don't want to stick my hand down in there, man.
Do it. I already used my cube.
My hand's too freaking big. I can't.
Oh my God.
Can't get it down there, man. It's all good.
You big baby.
This, man.
You just have a big splash of water.
It's got big hands. Big hands, big feet, big ears.
But yeah, sorry, I went down a little rabbit hole there.
I love hearing about Michigan. I love anything about your hometown, dude. It's something different than what we're used to hearing every day. So even the first time I met you,
it's we're Lions fans.
Evidently, the first time I met you, I didn't even know I met you. It was when you were in the police academy, or you were at the academy, and I guess I walked in or something.
Yeah. And you look like a wizard, I believe, at the time. A lot different than you look now.
Yeah. But that was the first day when that first time you and I were talking, and I don't remember, maybe it was because of the test or whatever. You brought that up, and I was like, and that it's funny because I think about when I was in the police academy. I'm trying to think of the guy's name, man. It's Lola's husband.
Lola Saucy?
Yeah, I mean, husband, her brother. Oh my gosh, man! Anyway, when I was in the academy, I got to see. You're standing in the academy. This is the old academy at the old place, and you see these guys come through, and you're like, and her. Oh my God, his name's on the tip of my tongue. He's passed away, unfortunately. But you see, he looked like a biker. And I remember him walking in and long hair and all. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Man, why don't we have like alarms on these doors, man?
Right.
And he walked in and somebody told me who he was. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That is fucking awesome, man. Because it's like, so what you think about when you think like 21 Jump Street when I was a kid.
Right.
And like that's a legit dude right there, man, walking in. And, but, getting back to the NARC world, man, it's, when I first came in, there's guys we would go out and we would hit all these, I was telling y'all, we'd write these warrants all week long and Thursdays and Fridays we'd go out. And a lot of times we'd serve all these search warrants, and man, sometimes on a lot of these trap houses we would get like 0.5 grams or a gram of crack or something, And so like the running joke a lot of times was like we're solving our city's problem 0.5 grams at a time,
Yeah.
And then we'd be all happy. Like a lot of times, like one time with Jake White, we hit this house that was basically a vacant house. That had a lot of the walls were missing on the outside. It was like it looked like a tornado had hit it, but there were prostitution going on there and all this stuff. But it had a roof, and Jake ran this little cheesy warrant on the place, and it was just a trap house, and we hit it. So SWAT hit it. I don't remember who hit it, but I remember standing in there in this house and like looking outside, and there was nothing to this structure, and there was a ladder. And I was looking up at the roof or up at the ceiling, and there was tile, like maybe it'd been an old office building or something. I don't remember exactly, but just off the whim, I got up, I climbed that ladder, and this was Jake White's warrant, and I stuck my arm up into the ceiling, and I started feeling around, and sure shitting, 1 ounce of crack, handed it down. Holy crap! And this was back when an ounce of crack was, probably $1,500 to $1,800 an ounce.
Yeah.
Pull one out, reach back up. Oh shit! Pulled another one out. Pulled another one out. Pulled another one out. Pulled another one out. There's probably 6 or 7 ounces of crack up in the ceiling on a house that legitimately we did it for. It was a complaint kind of thing for the citizens.
So you're just trying to.
Yeah, and because I saw that ladder, I reached up there and started pulling stuff up out of the ceiling, and it was one of the biggest licks at the time that we had on crack. Wow. And of course it was Jake's warrant, and we were about to walk out of that place, and just it's something that's crossed my mind. Hey, why is this ladder here?
Yeah.
And I had a warrant one time. It was the guy that I had a personal vendetta with. I won't say his name, his street name, but he had shot at one of our police officers once when I was in patrol in a particular neighborhood, and nobody could ever catch this guy for nothing. And out of the blue, I had an informant call me one time and say, "Hey, man, I know this guy that's selling da 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 da," and he told me his real name, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's gonna be so and so." And none of us even knew where he lived anymore. And I did a workup on the guy and got a snitch in there to make him one buy out of his house. And once I got the buy of the house, I had enough to write a warrant, but I'm like, I bought enough out of the house with my informant that I knew that I could probably set up something for something heavier. So I set and I wanted this guy so bad because I knew that he had shot at an officer and got away with it, and legitimately. And because nobody would talk because that neighborhood, it was the projects basically over off Rosedale. And long story short, he meets my informant. He thinks he's meeting my informant at a car wash. We knocked him down. He's got a couple ounces of black tar on him, like an ounce of crack on him or something. Well, we go back to his house because we made the buy out of the house. I wrote the warrant for his house. We just knocked him down, immediately served the warrant. We served it ourselves. We got him away from the house. We lived by himself. When he hit the house, my team did. And once we get in, man, we find the kilo skins in the trash can where he's getting, kilos of cocaine, and he's breaking it down and stepping on it and adding more stuff to it. But we can't find. I think we maybe found like.
What is stepping on it so people understand?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, stepping on is like, you get you get an ounce of powder cocaine, and then you take like a quarter ounce or half ounce of baking soda, and you mix it with it to make more product. That way you can make more money off of it. You're just making more bang for the buck, and so you step on it. It makes it weaker. And as it progresses through the stages, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And so, especially with methamphetamine, and so when you talk to somebody, like when I would talk to my CIs, or if I was undercover work, then I was talking to somebody, I would be like, "Hey, man, is this shit fire?" That was like the key word. They always called it fire. "Hey, man, you're gonna love this shit, dog. Man, this shit's fucking fire, dog." Whoa, 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 whoa. And that's what it's good stuff. And so, like on this particular one here, we hit the house, didn't find anything. Well, it just so happened we ended up having some patrol officers there. One of them was training a rookie, and the rookie was, God bless this cat, man. He was in the house with us, and we're like, man, we got the trash can that's full of some kilo skins, from cocaine. We can't find any weight, man. And so this rookie is like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" So I walk over there, and I'm like freaking pissed. I'm not happy we already got enough to put this cat away for a little bit, at least on this case where we got him in the car with. But I walk over to like this hall closet, and while he was in there, a hall closet that had already been searched by narcotics guys, and I'd already walked through there myself, but there was a drill laying on the floor with a bit in it. Why is this drill in the closet? It didn't dawn on me. It didn't dawn on any of my boys, but it made him, thank goodness, to go, why is this drill sitting in the hallway? And then when you look at the wall, he had like a wood panel, like a little 4-inch wood panel going around it, and you can see the screws in the wall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I zip, 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 pull all them screws out, and sure enough, it wasn't. It wasn't the mother load, but it was probably
more than you had.
Yeah, 8 to 10 ounces of of powder.
That's awesome.
It wasn't cracked out yet. By then crack was almost on the way out. It's all about methamphetamines and cocaine.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have had you always learn something about yourself when you're learning, when you're a student, but you also learn a lot about yourself as a teacher. So I learned real quick as a teacher, like you have this level of experience, you have this level of education, and you're presenting that. And we tend, as instructors or as a teacher or whatever it is, FTO, whatever you're doing, to think like, all right, you're here to learn from me. I learned real quick, I think, as an instructor, that I need to step back sometimes when I'm with somebody that just because they're not they're not doing my job, or they're not a certified cop yet. Let's put it that way. That they have life experience.
Yeah.
Before that.
Oh, heck yeah.
And their life
Common
experience.
sense.
Yeah. Their life experience may play a role. It just depends on that, whatever they did in life. And people like me in the area I grew up in, I learned a lot of the other side of the coin, so to speak, when it comes to the criminal side.
Right.
But I had some students that brought up some good points before, and I'm sitting in it, and it wasn't like I didn't say anything on the spot, but later on I'm like, you know what, Levine, you need to slow your roll a little bit, because just because you're there as an instructor, that doesn't mean they don't have something to present to the table. And I took that out in the field with me and did it in just basically every aspect that I got. I don't care if you're a 25-year officer or a 6-month probation rookie. Everybody's got something to bring to the table. You never know what the fuck it's going to be. So for you guys to sit back and have a room that's already been searched by a NARC guy, that's your team. And you did it yourself. But you guys took the time to say, you know what, all right, let him roll with it, see what he's got, and trust his hunch, and it panned out. So that is a testament, in my opinion, to anybody out there listening. Like, look, you may be that 17-year, that 20-year, 30-year officer. I don't care. If a rookie, don't shit on a rookie.
Right.
Don't shit on a rookie just because he's a rookie. Give him a chance. If he comes up with an idea, let him roll it. If he's completely wrong, okay, then make fun of him afterwards. That's the fun of being the police.
Exactly.
Make fun of him afterwards. But I think the culture of policing has that stigma of shut up, rookie. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And
for sure.
I'm the other way around, where I'm like, all right, let me give you a shot. Even if you're wrong 15 times. Let's say you're wrong. I don't care. I'm going to let you have your idea. I'm going to make so much fun of you when you're wrong, just because that's our world and that's how we deal with stress.
Shit talk,
I'm going to shit talk the hell out of you.
Right,
but I'm not going to shit on your ideas, because one, I don't want to discourage you from doing good police work. If you have a hunch, I'm not always 100% right, neither are you. So you let that rookie talk. And I don't think it just goes into police work. It goes into any career field, but especially for what we do, I think that old culture of police work where we have a habit of crapping on rookies, and I don't want to deter that mindset.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd be like, all right, from my experience, dude, like, this is what I see, but go with it. See what happens.
And I agree 110% with you. With the rookies in our line of work, and maybe it's across the board, with the rookies, it's to be a good officer, truly it takes experience, time on the streets. And it's because of that we look at these rookies like, I don't care what you say. Mm-hmm. You have not done what I've done. You haven't been called to that call where you get out of your patrol car at Loop 820 and 30 and Barry and have shots being banging off your car, which, a lot of us have on one particular call. Somebody from the highway was shooting at us when we had, 70 cars partying. And what you haven't had those kind of, but you're absolutely right. You just never know, especially nowadays. These cats coming out of the military, they've been there, they kind of done it. And these guys that we have coming out who have been around the dope world and inadvertently, because they grew up their parents, their whatever, they've got experiences that we didn't have growing up. Thank God. I'm glad I didn't have some of those experiences growing up. Yeah. But but that was, maybe this guy was. His dad was a carpenter. Hell, I don't fucking know. Yeah. But he saw that drill and was like, why is this drill in a closet where there's nothing else?
No other tools, no nothing.
Well, no tools, no, there's no towels, there's nothing. It's just an empty closet with a fucking electric drill sitting on the floor with a bit in it. And you look at and it goes back to what you'll learn in any drug school. If you ever go, I know you've been to classes too. Oh, you look for the screws that look like they're well worn, when you're like looking at cars and things like that. Yeah. When you search a car, like under the hood and all that stuff. Well, shit, man, that falls suit also for when you're searching a house, evidently, because had it not been for this rookie, and I would give anything if the rookie happens to hear about this and he remembers that call, I would remember that warrant. I would love to hear from that guy and see where he's at now. Yeah. Because I even to this day, with some of the officers that have come, once we, our detectives in the detective's office now, I'll have an officer once in a blue moon walk in and they'll be like, Oh man, I remember that one time. You called out and you needed a NARC unit, or you needed a patrol officer or something. I was training or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's pretty awesome. It's like these guys remember, and it wasn't because of me; it was because of the operation that was going on. But of course, they remembered my face.
Yeah,
When you're a NARC, you see so many patrol officers across the city. And there's only so few of us that a lot of them remember you, but you don't remember them.
Yeah, trust me. As an instructor, I put 3
exactly.
years and all these academy classes through. And not just academy classes. Like I would do the in-service stuff too.
Right,
For those listening, in-service is basically you're training people that are already police officers from your department. So you train all these people, and I recognize your face.
Right.
I just don't remember your name because I haven't worked with you other than training you on the mats or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, man.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes it can be embarrassing.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, bro, what's up? Yeah. Hey, brother. That's all I say.
40-hour school a couple weeks ago, and I had somebody walk up and was talking to me in the hallway and during a break, and he was, hey, what's going on? He's calling me Mac. I'm like MAC. That's a lot of the guys who know me call him Mac,
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, what's going on, brother? A long time no see.
Yep.
And I was thinking he was still an officer, I'm like, I don't know. Obviously I recognize him, but I've seen him over the years,
Yeah.
And I'm like, so where are you at now, man? And he's like, oh, I'm over south. And I was like, the way he talked, I'm like,
over south? What's that mean?
No. Maybe it was. He told me where he's at.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in south, and I was like, oh, cool, man. But it didn't sound like an officer at that point. It's like he was in some type of leadership,
like a little rank on him.
He has moved up the chain somewhere. And so this is, legitimately, I feel like a douche. So I'm like,
I'm your deputy chief now.
but he knew me about Mac, nobody knows that except like in the military, Sergeant Mac,
Yeah.
But guys, me calling him Mac, And so when we got back in the classroom, we had at one point we had the paperwork. We had you sign off, make sure you were there, and all that kind of stuff. He got to his desk. And I went over there real quick on a break. It was still sitting there. I don't know. I'm sorry, as a test we took.
Yeah.
And I looked at it real quick. And then I had to go on the portal the next week. It was a sergeant.
Oh. So you cheated on the test?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. It was something we had to do to put a name on it.
Probably the eval.
At that point, everything fell into place exactly where he and I were bumped into each other and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it was one of those. It's like, God dang, our apartment is big as ours. You got almost 2,000 freaking officers, man. And every kind of specialized unit in the world, man, and we're so blessed in that.
Dude, I can't remember. And I have a shit memory as it is. That's like that. I have two factors going against me. One, the position the things I've done, and then just the fact that I have a terrible memory as it is.
I think my name for you has been, was it wiener in the back of the head, or what is it? What do you call me? The fucking sausage head?
Sausage neck, hot dog neck. I call you hot dog neck.
I think it's because you forget my name sometimes.
Yeah. Matt's got he's so much into making his body into a freaking all chest, no legs. It's his neck or what's left of it's turned into just a pack of hot dogs in the back.
Yeah, you're not lying, man. My daughter says I was like a sharp peg in the back.
That's the best that you do.
I push my head scalp.
You make it look even worse. That's funny.
The whole NARC world, man. So we were talking about CIs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you'll tell them you gotta get 5 licks for me, and I hope I never see you again, kind of thing. And then once they get into it and they realize, going back to what I was saying, that you treat them okay. You don't treat them like an a-hole. You don't treat them like they're a piece of crap. And of course, you can't let them walk over you by no means.
Right. But do you protect them too? How does that work? They go in to buy and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. We never I would never send somebody in the house to make a buy and immediately turn around and hit the house 5 seconds later. But even in our warrants that we write, on an arrest warrant or something, it doesn't.
Hold on. Because you're still thinking like a cop. Other cops understand what you mean. The reason why you're not hitting that house.
Well, the reason why we're not hitting the house, obviously, we want to take off as much possible. We don't want the bad guy to know who snitched them out.
Right.
At the end of the day. And so, but yet, and every instance is different. Trap houses, you got to understand. Trap house might have 50 to 100 people or more come through their door every single day. And there were white guys or black guys or white girls or black girls or Hispanic guys or Hispanic girls. whatever, you have the big guys, they have no idea who it could possibly be, because the way we write our search warrants are legit, and it's on this particular, in this time frame. We don't say at 12:22 p.m. on August 7th, 2021, we went in and we sent a white male, code name such and such, or
right.
CI number such and such. We don't do nothing like that. It's a he or she kind of a thing on a particular time frame, within 72 hours.
Yeah. And
that's what graciously the state allows us, is to give a 72-hour window on our warrants. And so I can say within the last 72 hours, or, I'm just not going to be specific, and I'm not going to say. And so they legitimately don't know who it might have been.
Right. And you're, like you said, the reason you're not serving a warrant right after your CI hits is because
we don't want to burn them.
Yeah.
We don't, obviously the last thing I want to do is get a CI killed.
Yeah.
That would kill me. No pun intended. That would, it would tear me up. I've actually had 2 informants killed, and and you can talk to my wife, and you can talk to my friends that knew me at the time. That were friends of mine in the department then. They'll tell you it affected me. It affected me a lot. One of them particularly. I had known him, the guy, for a couple, 3 years. And on a particular, I don't really want to get into that one, but it was that affected me. He was executed on his front porch right after the deal.
You told me that story.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
I've seen the video on it. It was a straight up execution on his part, on him. He was shot in the head as he came off on the porch, and then they did a coup de grace, and then they walked off, and it's never been solved. Dang. And that to this day affects me, because I knew the guy, I knew his wife, she knew who I was. He was an all right guy. He worked. He just liked drugs, and he liked to sell drugs, and which obviously is what we look for, people who are into that world. And it caught up with him, stuff that we were working together on. But at the end of the day, it falls back on him.
Yeah,
but. As somebody that knew the guy, that set deals up and talked to the guy every day and rode around with him in a car or in my pickup truck that I had for so long, it's somebody and it's not somebody I would drink a beer with or hang out with or invite over to my house. But hell, man, to have that happen to somebody, that was out there who legitimately knew what was right and wrong, and he was trying to do the right thing, as much as he could, but he had an addiction problem. And he hated the stuff that was going on in the streets, and that was why I stayed with that guy for so many years. It's bothered me, and it still bothers me.
I think it goes with you could have somebody you just can't stand. Whether you work with them, whether you're friends with them, however you want to put it. Maybe it's your wife's friend. I don't know. But you're around them. If something bad happens to them, especially if they die, just the human part of you, like if you have it, you can't help but be somewhat emotionally affected. Like,
this is recorded, right?
Yeah.
I want a recording of you saying that.
You know what I mean?
Levine, yeah. No, but you're absolutely right.
You know what
man.
I mean?
100%, man.
I've got people that annoy the hell out of me, and he no longer works with us, but exactly, he annoys me. Yes. He annoys the shit out of me, but I don't want nothing bad to happen to that dude. And if it did, it would mess me up. I would be emotionally affected by that. And that's with somebody that annoys me. So, with a CI, you have to develop a friendship, a legitimate one, not just a work thing, but it's got to be, otherwise it's not going to work right, in my opinion.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, majority of my informants were just that. They were just informants. But then you can't help. Well, let me go back to the older days.
I don't mean a real, hey, come over to my house, let's hang out. I just mean you can't fake you.
There was the informants that I had from, I would say, 2008, 9, 10, and then 11, 12, 13, maybe even 2014. And it's weird. I'm
all the years, guys. All the years.
No, I mean, I came in 2000. Once Rangel left, things changed.
You're old. I get it.
Back in the day, we did a lot of our own UC work.
Yeah.
It was our job. Our job was the informants were to introduce us to people. they get a couple buys in, but the whole point of it was for you to make that buy on your own. Mm-hmm. And over time, and for obvious reasons, it's all about officer safety now. It's more of a, let your informants do it, man. Let them work them cases off. Let them make that money. That's what they're in for. If they don't want to make the money, they're not going to be there. They're the one that's going to put their neck on the line. But some of those guys, I give you an example. I had to meet this guy. It was Sean LaCroix was my supervisor back then. And had an informant call me, and he was like, hey, man, this guy is selling X amount of weight, and he's like selling pounds a day. So I picked up a little bit from the guy, like a quarter pound, and I set up a second deal. But I did it myself. It's one of those you meet up real quick.
So before you get too deep into that, how you're just allowed, as a NARC officer, you're allowed to say, hey, I'm going to be the UC on this?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Even though you have a CI?
Your supervisors, if you have a supervisor worth their weight in salt, and our department has had some badass supervisors in my career with them. Mm-hmm. They know what you can and what you can't do. And my supervisors, right, wrong, or indifferent, when I said, hey, I got this going on, for the most part, they understood what was going on, and they were like, hey, rock on, man. Let's make this happen. Let's do this.
I'm just trying to help people that are outside of this career field understand, like, hey, I've worked NARC. I've done, I've worked CIs. I've worked, little mini buys and stuff myself. But now you're talking serious weight, which is a lot of dope. Yeah. And you personally are the guy that's going in with your CI, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting back to. Okay. The whole point of this particular story was, it goes back to, you have to be able to trust. Some of your CIs, you legitimately, especially back then, they rode around with me, I had this one particular CI, I spoke about him earlier. He was a dirty white boy. Legitimately, I would drive around with this guy, and he would introduce me to people all day long. All day long. We would pull up to a house, and we would walk up to the fence line, and he'd be like, hey, man, these were all Aryan Brotherhood of Texas guys. And he would just introduce me, this is so-and-so. And he had so much clout that the next day, I fucking for sure, I knew I could go back to the house and do a straight buy.
On your own?
On my own.
Damn.
It wasn't one of those where it would take 2 or 3, 4 or 5 meetings with this cat to do. He had so much street clout, I could do it.
Oh, okay.
And so
you, when they vouch, like that goes a long way.
That goes a long ways.
Okay.
Man, and he didn't even have to say much. I mean, it's not he's giving my whole life story to these guys. Oh, this is so and so. I met him. We were in prison in this unit together, and my rack mate or whatever. Nothing like that. He was just like, hey man, this is Flame over here. This is when I had that big goatee and all that.
You look like a wizard.
Yeah. The big diamond earring in my ear. I just look like trash.
But, not much different than now.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, he had those are good informants, and so those are the guys that are going to be in your truck with you when you have a bad guy in your car, and you have to depend on this guy. He's got your back. He truly's got your back. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I'm going to have a SWAT team or part of a SWAT team. Back then, we'd always have like half of the SWAT unit or something, or an SRT, ZT, whatever they're called now, around for close cover, but. There's nothing better than close cover than somebody in your back seat. Just like, undercover when you have, you're doing a street buy or something, you've got your cop as your driver, you got your bad guy who gets in to make the sale. In the back seat, you have an undercover officer also who's armed that, in case shit goes down, they can handle business. If you're trying to get somebody tries to burn you or roll you or whatever, tries to rob you. So these guys are in the back seat. So you have to have trust with them.
Yeah.
This guy, legitimately, my life could be in his hand and his life is in my hand. And so these are conversations you have to have with these guys. And sometimes it just goes without saying. So like this particular case was, this guy was, my informant was, I want to say Mexican Mafia. Some of those clubs those gangs all kind of run together now. Not so much then. I was pretty much on top of them, man. But, I want to say it was Mexican Mafia, and he had introduced me earlier to somebody with the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas.
Well, because you're a white dude, so
yeah.
Even though you're a white guy,
no, it's all about dope, dude. I mean,
okay, it's a world beyond me. I never got into that side of the house.
I had legitimate Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, which is a white prison gang. I had a sergeant who was with them, who was living with a black female. they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and he was helping raise her daughter. And whenever, and he was the sergeant for a particular person. He's in federal prison now, and I want to say he was the. Man, I don't remember what his rank was, but he was one of the main guys in our wheel. The ABTs broke down in what's called the wheel, and there's different spokes on it. And he was the general of the wheel here. But anyway, but this sergeant was just getting what you're talking about. He was a white guy dating or living with a black female and raising her daughter, and he was airing a full patched in, blooded in, old school blooded in. He was mid-50s, got blooded in when he was probably in his 20s. In the state prison, so he killed somebody at some point, or did enough to get blooded in. So when it comes, once they get out, dude, it's all about drugs. It's all about dope.
The prison rules are different.
Well, the prison rules still stay the same, but it's all about money. And so those guys inside need money on their books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
JPay's not going nowhere. JPay is worth to put the money on.
Yeah.
And so you got to put money on JPay. You know, you still got to handle business, man. Business is on the streets. And so this guy, I don't remember how he became my informant, but he became my snitch. And he was my snitch for probably 3 years, or 2.5 years or so. And he was really good. And a lot of times I use, obviously your snitch is going to lead to another snitch. And this particular case led to a Mexican mafia guy who had done a lot of time in prison. He's like, hey, man, I got this guy that's one I think I saw. It wasn't much. It was like 4 ounces of ice. But, of course, this is also when an ounce of ice was, an ounce of ice is nothing nowadays.
I know. You keep saying that, and I'm remembering my patrol time, and I'm like, that is so much fucking weight.
It was back then. An ounce of ice, I remember when it was almost $2,000 an ounce. Then I saw it slowly progress down. That's when crack cocaine was still popular, and crack was like the shit. And then all of a sudden, people are like, what's this? Yeah, because when I first picked him up as a cop in Kennedale, meth was still made majority in meth labs around here. And it was like an oily-based, yellowy-looking, nasty substance. And then, of course, Mexican meth came over, and that just became the shit of shit. You know? And so it was all this crystallized stuff. It was no more of this little gummy, powdery yellowish gum, off color stuff.
Yeah, it's like glass.
Yeah, now it's all about ice, all about glass, all about that shit, And so when that shit first hit, that was like $1,800 an ounce. And, now it's like $400 an ounce now. Yeah. And nobody does crack anymore. Yeah, it's all about how much. And our borders are just getting pummeled with meth.
Yep.
That's all that's coming across now, But back then, even all up until I got out, that was, I left NARC in 2019 and almost 2020. The price had gone down, but not that much. But, anyway, so he introduced me to this guy. I buy I think a quarter key, not a quarter key, but 4 ounces, so a quarter pound.
So you got the money with you, like that is that part of the Impress fund? How does that? Where do you get that money from to buy this stuff?
I got to think about this one for a second. I'm trying to remember exactly. I don't know if I remember. I don't know if I did a buy with. I thought I did a buy with this guy, but that wouldn't have worked, man. I did something with the guy earlier on in the day, but no. At the end of the day, I ended up meeting him in a liquor store parking lot. And of course, at this point, this is going to be a takedown. And so everybody, sorry, I keep getting wrapped up in this cord here.
Oh, sorry.
Everybody, at this point, it's going to be, it's a huge deal. So I'm talking to my supervisor, which is Sean LaCroix. And this guy's like the best thing since sliced bread. And tell him how it's going down. And this is, you can't just walk up and go, hey, I want to do this. What do you think? You got to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted when you walk up to your supervisor, sergeant, and go, this is what I want. This is what's going to happen. This is what I'd like to see happen, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I had it set up. I had the time frame set up. I'd already met the guy once, which was no big deal. And I want to say I did a buy from the guy. Generally, I'll make just a bullshit buy and let him go. And I want to say it was for 4 ounces. Just to let him know, hey, I'm the real deal. Because when you buy that much, you got to get it. That's a lot of money or let them walk away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just got to prove that it's going to come to something, And by then I had been, this was the TCNU team, Tarrant County Narcotics. I moved up to the Tarrant County Narcotics unit now, and that was when I met Bruce Anderson. We were all on the same team. I think he might have been gone by then. But we were doing upper echelon dope. We weren't with the DEA or nothing like that, but we had a lot of pull. You know what I'm saying? We were doing some good weight. But so I set this deal up, and it wasn't for like movie weight. I want to say it was for a pound or 2 pounds on our key or something like that.
So much.
No, but I mean it is. But it wasn't like I'm expecting a Coca-Cola truck to pull up with a something a skid to pull off
Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
Anything like that. But it was for a large quantity, more than I had gotten earlier.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the informants. I had my informant, who's this Mexican mafia guy, that here we are about to meet this guy who's a full patch member, not patch, but some motorcycle club, but he's a documented member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And this guy was like 6'7", like 300 and something pounds. And I'm going to be meeting this guy in a parking lot, and he's going to be getting the truck with me.
And you're like 5'7"?
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm 5'5", 105.
How tall are you really? Like 5'8", 5'9"?
I'm 5'11", bro.
Okay. I'm 5'11". I'm taller than you.
Well, you might be. I don't know. According to the military, I'm 71 inches.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you're 5'11". Okay.
5'11", 230.
Okay.
And so.
God, you're thick.
I'm fat. I'm a fat body. And so we pull into the parking lot, and I'm talking to my informant. I'm like, hey, listen, man, this might go south, man. This guy might legitimately try to rip us, because this guy, according to my informant and according to what I saw earlier, this guy was burning when I met him. He was high when I met him, and he was tripping pretty hard.
So, all right, let's take a step back.
Okay.
You're possibly going to get like shit could go down with this.
I could get shot in the head. Yes.
Yeah. Like, how do you get your mind right around that?
And this could go back to it. Once we get done with this story, I can go back to the first time I had a gun pulled on me.
Okay, we'll get to that, but I'm just...
And that goes back to Jake White. It goes back to just the mindset, and it's just horrible to say. It's all about the lust for the bust.
Okay.
That's the saying.
So that's the drive, though.
It's all about dope.
Okay.
It's all about, no matter what happens, I just got to get this bust. And it's almost like an addiction, man. It's the lust for the bust. And I had it. I 100% had it.
Okay.
I don't anymore. But I had it then.
So part of the argument that will be from the other side of the coin, okay, is that, are you losing focus on helping the community versus having that lust for the bust, as you put it? You know what I mean? So people are they're gonna look at that and be like, are you putting having fun on the job over what's right for the community? Are you making sure you're doing everything legitimately?
I hear what you're saying, and in particular cases like this, I'd say 100% hell no. This was an Aryan Brotherhood Texas guy who would sell an ounce of ice to a 12-year-old girl. He didn't care who he sold it to.
Good.
By no means.
Yeah. And I say good because I want people to hear that. Like, they got to understand, like, yeah, you're addicted to that fun part of the job, but at the same time, like,
no, the fun part of it, and you're absolutely right, it is fun. It's extremely rewarding when this particular case here, and we're going to get through this one here in a second, when this comes to fruition and you see exactly what happens, and you didn't, and we won't go into the interviews and all that kind of stuff, but when you find out exactly how much they are polluting and how much they've actually were getting every single fucking day, and we're putting onto the streets of North Texas. And these are the guys that are, you see these people that are homeless. My wife and I just watched this thing, or I did, and I told her about it. It was yesterday, on this guy that was addicted to methamphetamines, who was this all-star sports guy. And suddenly he got put on, not Ambien, but the prescription pill for studying, whatever it's called. Adderall. And all of a sudden got on methamphetamines, and he went from, 270-pound lineman to a 180-pound homeless guy all within a year.
What's wrong with being 180 pounds?
Well, I can't sport that shirt like you. I'm not going to lie. I wish if I would have put that thing on, it'd be like, fat guy in a little coat, or whatever, however that is.
Richard, what's wrong with us?
So this guy, he shows up, and we met at a liquor store parking lot over off East Chase and 30. And I picked that location. It's in I apologize.
You're good.
I picked that location. It's in an area that makes people not as, because it's in the middle of a bunch of apartment complexes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have cop written all over it. You know what I'm saying? It's close to Arlington. These guys were out of Arlington, Grand Prairie area. And so it was, you still kind of want to make them.
What was your appearance like? I just want people to kind of get a visual.
My appearance, by then I had been in narcotics several years by then, and you don't have to. I learned by then there's also older guys, I was kind of falling into that older guy category. When you're the younger guy, you want to kind of look like a douchebag.
Gotcha.
You do. When I was a younger narc guy, I wore wife beaters, with Dickie shorts and freaking Sketcher shoe, something that just made me look like
Vans.
Well, yeah, I still got them. I still got a ton of Vans. I wore with no socks.
Yeah,
and a lot of this I learned from guys like Jake White and some of the other guys that were there. Jake was a badass guy in Vice, and so he learned a lot. You learned a lot in Vice.
I'm glad you're bringing him up so much because I'm going to have him on.
Yeah, he's my boy, man. No matter what happens, he's always going to be my boy. You can bring me up with him and talk about how much I talked him up. He's always going to be my boy, man. He trained me up, man. But so I get in this parking lot and I got my CI with me and before it happens, I'm like, hey man, this shit goes south, man. He's going to be sitting directly behind the bad guy. And I'm trying to remember what this guy had a nickname. I forget what it was, the bad guy I was meeting with, because he was such a large guy. So this cat gets in my truck with me, and I've had the same truck for so long. The back of the bed was loaded down with like scrap metal, and I just looked like, typical white trash dude. And he's like bouncing off my seats, man, all over the freaking place. And I'm trying to talk business with the cat, and I've already pretty much cut out my CI, but he's just there, And I'm like, hey man, let me see what you got, man. What you got? Let me look at it, man. And I said, I might test it real quick. He's like, that's all good if you want to test it. Of course, I'm not going to smoke anything,
Okay, so where's your mind at?
And so I want to say more than likely, I can't tell you exactly where I am wired up. It's either going to be on my body or it's going to be like in the cup kind of thing. But more than likely, it's on my body, But because by then for whatever reason, we quit using the cup thing. That was mainly a street thing, like SAU. We had the cup in the car and people getting in and out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you lived with a wire back then, always underneath your armpit,
Okay.
And so I know, and granted, I have a badass fucking team. Don't get me wrong. All my NARC guys are there. I have LaCroix, like legitimately in my fucking parking lot. And I have the Zero Tolerance team, Steve Myers. West.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I brought him in from
legend.
West. He's a legend, man. This guy is like the shit of shit. And under him was John Sutherland. That was the corporal then, who's now a sergeant with the in narcotics, And so, I mean, I had the best of the best. And so those guys were all out there.
Where's your heart rate, man?
Honestly, my heart is always good. It's always after.
Yeah.
Any kind of UC deal is always after that. I would like the adrenaline dump is what I call it. The adrenaline dump hits you and you start getting kind of like the shakes a little bit.
Yeah. That's how I am hunting. I'm good. Afterwards,
you don't want the shakes while you're hunting.
Yeah, afterwards, I'm like,
on a shot, man.
But I got friends, they're like, I was all so jazzed, like I missed. I've never been that way.
I've shot 1 million pigs, man.
Yeah,
hunting. I've never gotten.
So I'm just trying to help listeners be like, just trying to get into your mindset.
There's
like
so much going on in your mind because yes, I'm wanting that buzz, but at the same time, I'm also not wanting to get killed. And I'm dealing with somebody that is very volatile. He's a large person. And he even says it in the video. I need to go back and try and find this audio somehow. Mm-hmm. And I had it for a while on a thumb drive. I don't anymore. But it's got to be somewhere. I just need to go find it. But he was even talking, because I brought it up about, he was bouncing off the fucking walls of my truck. And I told
he's high, right?
Because he's blitzed. He smoked a bowl at some point within the last, hour. And so I said something to him like, hey, man, what's up, dude? You're kind of all over the place, man. I'm trying to be businesslike about it, old school style, And that was something goes back to one of my informants, the one that the DEA gave me. I learned a lot from that guy about you don't have to be this little douchebag idiot running around bumping his gums to buy dope. Yeah. Sometimes you can be old school. And at that point, I started
a little mafioso style.
Well, I've kind of been there. I've done it. I don't want to get ripped kind of mentality. And that's kind of where I worked with him. I was like, hey man, what's the deal? He's like, oh no, man, And I'm like, hey, let me see what you got, dog. So he goes over to his truck, when they pulled in, he got out the passenger car. So there was a guy and a girl, a man and a woman in the front seat. They got out. They went into the liquor store. Right. So he gets out of the car and he comes over to me and he gets to my truck again. This time he's got a big bag with him and it's like a pound of ice, you know. And so he gives me this pound and I'm just kind of looking at it. I open it up. I do my little freaking inspection. And I don't see a whole lot of cut in it. I smell it and all that kind of stuff because, you know, you've been doing. I can smell. I know what heroin smells like. Good heroin. I know what good coke smells like. I can smell that a mile away. I know.
Then they don't make you do it or anything like that.
No, this particular time, no. Once again, I'll go back to that story from earlier on when I did have somebody pull a gun on me, and that was a bad moment. But this guy, what I did was, with all my training and experience in NARC, I'm like, all right, man, take your shit, man. Let me count my money real quick. I got him to talk, and because I want to know where this shit's at. I'm like, so you got? I'm like, that looks good, man. It looks really good. I said, you know, I might want to get more. He's like, hey, man, not a problem, man. He goes, I got multiple pounds back at the house, dog. Whatever you want. Because he was so blitzed. He didn't even know what he fucking was saying. Of course, he trusted me because what did I have? I had his buddy who he'd been doing so much work with the Mexican Mafia in my back seat. And he was like, man, I've got so much work back in my apartment, man. He was sharing an apartment with those two people in the car. Well, and of course, they're old school, which I found out later on. That's why they went to the liquor store. They didn't even buy nothing. They just went in there just to get away from the car.
To separate themselves.
I mean, they're still idiots. They're meth heads at the end of the day. But they knew at least to get away from the fucking car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, man, let me count. We did a price on the deal and all stuff. So I'm like, hey, I'll get out my truck, man. So I count my money real quick because I don't want to see how much money I got. And he knows what time that is. Nobody's just going to go, count out, you know, all their money right then and there.
My dumbass would have. I don't know anybody.
Well, I'm not. My thing is I'm trying to get him out of the car so I can give the takedown signal so they can take him down away from me. I don't want to be in the car. I've been in the car when the takedowns and when SWAT and heavy weapons can run up on your vehicle. It makes your asshole. It makes your a-hole pucker up a little bit. And so
quiver.
Yeah. So he gets out of the car and he walks over to the other car and he's got the dope on him. So I give the signal. I'm like, you know what, whatever it was, bingo. And everybody comes running up, right? Like out of nowhere, dog. It's amazing from the other parking lot. And I'm watching him and he tosses this huge bag of dope.
Not mine.
And it's massive, man. You know, it bangs off the side of his tire and they put cuffs on him. And of course, I'm like, they already saw the two people get out. They go inside and grab them up and bring them out. Well, the driver was a lieutenant with the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas. He was like the real deal. And that was his old lady. So, of course, I'm going to grab her up and I'm talking to her. And she's like, oh, yeah, I've got it. And she didn't want nothing to do with nothing, man. She's like, I've got this apartment over. And I already knew where their apartment was. It was one of course, the pay-by-the-week motels over off 360. 360 is like, if you ever want to get fucking 20 kilos of meth, go to 360. And so she's like, we got an apartment over here at the freaking Forever Stays or whatever it's called, which I already knew. And, I'll give you consent. I just don't want to go to jail. Because why? Because she had a dog in there and she didn't want her dog to get. And I made her think that I already knew where they were at, which I did.
Understandable.
We've already got enough for a warrant, blah, blah, blah. I just need your cooperation. You don't need to go to jail tonight kind of shit, you know? And so she signed consent on her freaking room because it's in her name, the whole 9 yards. She told me that, I think the guy was like Big John or something like that. Big John and her old man, they both, Big John was staying with them, but it's all in her name. Fuck yeah, we'll go. So everybody goes, we all, big caravan back over to that room. And I asked her, everything's recorded, and I'm like, so, basically, what am I going to find when I get it? I need you to tell me. I really don't want to waste a lot of time going through all your stuff. It's personal stuff, and I don't want to destroy anything. This isn't a search warrant. I just want to get what we need and get out of there. And she's like, well, you might find, I think it's like maybe 6 ounces underneath an air conditioner in a room and a magnet, the big like Pelican magnet things are so popular.
Yeah. You might find.
Yeah, you might find.
Yeah.
So we get there, and of course, immediately I'm like, oh, okay, we'll go there. Sure enough, there's like a Pelican case. I pull it up from underneath it. It's got the big heavy duty magnets. Open it up. Well, there's the fucking 6 to 8 ounces of ice, whatever it was. I'm like, woo, yeah. Well, on the table over here was like, I don't know, multiple bags stacked up of meth, ice. I'm like, woohoo. And
she never mentioned?
No, it was plain view, but it didn't matter. She even sent. But it was funny, this was the holiday time, so she had written like I've got pictures of this. this, right?
Yeah.
And I've kept oh my God, dude, I've got so many pictures of all the bigger licks, the funny ones,
Yeah.
and it just goes on and on and on. My wife's like, one of these days you need to do like a coffee album, like a coffee table book,
Yeah. Seinfeld.
And exactly, it comes from Seinfeld, the coffee table book.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny, man. You got that, man. But
dude, I've watched every episode a million times.
We watched some last night.
My wife is a Friends freak,
yes.
and I'm the opposite. I'm a Seinfeld freak. But because, me and my wife, we've been together since like 7th grade.
Right.
We know that about each other. And so don't get me wrong, I don't mind Friends. It's a good show. I liked it, but
it's not Seinfeld.
It's not Seinfeld. Like back in the day,
I don't care about the relationship issues.
Back in the day, it was either you were Seinfeld or your Friends. There was like this butting of heads, and I'm a Seinfeld guy. So Seinfeld, I'm soup Nazi, everything. I know it all. So
it doesn't matter. It transitions through every decade. It doesn't matter
exactly
what year it is.
No,
anybody can associate with this guy who's absolutely has no moral compass.
Right.
Who just throw anybody under the bus.
Yes.
And lie straight to your face.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yes, I own this company. Well, I'm a doctor.
Right. You're going to hell, not me.
Satan.
Right. Yeah.
Or the devil.
You stole my Jesus fish. So
that was putty.
That was putty. Yeah. At the New Jersey game,
yes.
hockey.
Went to see the Jersey Devils play, and he bumps into the car with the priest in it.
But
so she tells me all this stuff. So we're at the house, and I recover that. And we got all this and all these bags of dope. She had, because they're meth heads, and they have nothing else better to do.
Please tell me she put little Christmas things on them.
Take VCRs and shit apart. She had like hand painted like Happy Holidays.
Oh, that's great.
And there was like a shit ton of all these like quarter-ounce bags and ounce bags, and like dozens of them. She had hand painted Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all this stuff, right?
Good for her.
So we kept finding all these little magnets, right? And and Steve Myers is a friend of mine also. And so, of course, he was my go-to guy a lot because his team was amazing. Yeah. All the ZT teams back then were just really good guys, man. They just loved dope work. And they knew that anytime our team was calling them, or the Narcotics was calling them, hey, we got something going on.
Now the ZT teams are in flock work.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's all about flock nowadays, man. But so I'm sitting in this kitchen, I'm looking, and of course, where everybody's I got 2 NARC guys with me at least, and we're searching. But everybody, it's just a little bitty place. You got a lot of people in there. Yeah, and I see this bucket over in the corner of the bedroom. It's a 2-bedroom suite thing, and I see this bucket, and it's got something on. I remember it was something on top of it. I'm like, of course, this is my. I'm running the show on this one. So I go pick this bucket up, this thing off the top. I look, and it's nothing but big kilo bags of meth, of ice, just multiple bags.
Like a 5-gallon bucket?
5-gallon bucket, nothing but kilo bags all the way down.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I'm like, mother trucker.
Holy shit.
So I've got this really badass picture of, this is Christmas time. And this is old school style, So it's me.
That's got to be at least 5 bags.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like this picture of me and Steve Myers laying on this bed, and we've got these bags of meth like laying on top. And we would never do that again. Yeah. We're just like laying there because it was funny, because that was funny stuff we did. But you wouldn't do it now because you'd be afraid. Honestly, something like that would get out.
But okay, let's back that up because I want people to understand that it's not like you are helping the community. You know what I mean? Like that's the equivalent of a trophy for helping the community. That's not you.
Every one of those ounces, every gram of that is a pollutant to the city, man. And not just, but I mean, not just Arlington or Fort Worth or Tarrant County, but definitely it's a pollutant in general. Yeah. These guys are from Irving. They're from Dallas. They're from whatever. Yeah. And so, and here we are at the 360 corridor, which is the main thoroughfare between Tarrant County and Dallas County. Yeah. The biggest cities around. So, it definitely, and so when I interviewed this guy, the lieutenant, the main guy, the guy who didn't deliver to me, the guy who was having somebody deliver for him, he thought by having somebody else do all the dirty work, my hands are clean kind of mentality. Right. When I interviewed him, he was just like, he legitimately was like, I am so happy this happened. Because first off, he's going back to prison, and that's where he actually holds major rank. I get that.
So he's like institutionalized.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I knew some of his family members from back in the day, you know.
Okay.
But he said, you have no idea how much pressure has been on me, man. He's like, every fucking day, this is his words, every fucking day, I'd get a knock on my hotel room, you know, where they lived at. And it'd be some Hispanic girl at my door, and she'd be holding a bag. And it was full of 2 to 3, 4 or 5 kilos of meth every damn day.
And he has to offload that.
And he's like, I got in a bind. And next thing I know, I'm way over my head, and I can't. He's like, I couldn't push enough of this. I just couldn't. I had no way of pushing this much dope. And he's like, had you got me earlier today? Because by now it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, had you got me earlier today? She had just come earlier that morning and dropped off a shit ton with me. I could, it's all gone. Only thing you got left is basically what's left.
Holy shit!
Like, but I guarantee she'd have been back the next day, but he wouldn't work, man. He didn't. Oh, actually, I put him on paper to work. And this is these stories. I tell you what, they spiderweb out, dog. They're ridiculous. He was supposed to work for me.
What's funny is even your language. Like I can see you reverting.
My wife is so happy I'm done with it.
It's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, but what I like about it is I want people to understand. Like you have to encompass that lifestyle. You do. And as you're telling the story. Just like when Bruce came on here and talked about his shooting, he relived it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I just want people to understand, like there's like for Bruce, there's a vulnerability, there's this PTSD, there's all this shit that he dealt with in his shooting. And as a guy who's out there on the street and you're working undercover, like just you telling the story, you're reliving it. Like your language has changed. Yeah. I talk to McMeans every day. He doesn't talk like this, and he's talking about the stories, and his verbiage is changing as he's telling me that. So I want people to understand that, like, this is the dedication to the job and to making things better that he's willing to put in it. It put him through a fucking divorce. That luckily he circled back around.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're with her again.
Yeah, I two divorces. My first wife.
Right.
And my first wife was earlier on in it, and that was when, you know, it was a bad time for me, man. You know, I spent all my time on my motorcycle, or I was working, you know, and I was never at home, and I was trying to, I was trying to feel something that wasn't there. Yeah. I missed the military like fucking nobody's business, man. I wanted to go back in. I wanted to retire. I 10 more years I could retire.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, she ended up leaving me, and I don't blame her, man. You know.
Yeah.
Then I got remarried again. Later on, I had a baby, and then she ends up leaving me. You know, it's because all my time was with work. It was, and I would never. And that's one of the things. If I could tell anybody now, you know, that's wanting to get into this, man, is like, you know, don't let it take. And don't get me wrong. This isn't a movie. This wasn't like, you know, some of these movies you watch, like Donnie Brasco and all. I wasn't undercover like that. It was nothing like that. I was just a narcotics cop, man. But you're gone all night, so many nights, you know. And on top of that, I was in a motorcycle club, you know, and it wasn't a cop club. I was in a club. So by then I had rank in that club, and I was always gone riding around with those guys, you know, being with the club. I was just never home. I felt like that I had this mentality in my head that I was all that in a bag of chips, and I was, you know, bulletproof because and I thought I was a badass. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was a badass. Not genuinely thought I was a badass, but you have so much. Your team, everything you do is really successful, and it's just not me. I mean, even that night, the story I just told, that was a combination of our team, my CI, Steve Myers and his ZT team. You know, all those guys. Yeah. Nothing like that would never happen had I not trusted his team to do what needed to be done, to know they had my back.
Yeah.
I trust my CI to know he had my back. I mean, it's truly a team effort all the way around. My guys were getting big licks too. My partners, Bruce Anderson was getting good licks. Bruce was always about guns. Bruce loved to get guns off the street, and I did too. And you couple that with dope, that's an awesome freaking lick, you know. I always joke around, say I'll take 5 grams of crack and a pistol all day long over a pound of meth and no gun. I'd love to have a gun involved in everything I do.
Yeah.
You know.
Weird you mentioned that. I don't have a lot to brag about in my patrol life, but
you survived.
One, I survived, and two, I was a gun magnet. I find guns everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their niche. Guns were my thing. I could find guns.
Guns. I will do anything to get guns off the streets.
Yeah. I find a
guns.
lot of stolen guns.
Guns and violent people, man. But you mix that with, and I always tell people whenever I love it if I catch somebody with dope and a gun. I'm like, bro, you've been around the block too many times, man. Why in the hell would you involve guns, man? You know better than that. And they'll tell you, I knew better, man. I knew don't bring guns into this, man. But this and this happened. It had nothing to do with what was going on that night. They're like, so-and-so wanted to get a piece of me, and I just had this heater on, blah, blah, blah.
And you can't blame them.
Yeah. You really can't. You really can't, you know?
Hey, I just want to give you, so you, I know you were like worried about like, hey, what am I going to have to talk about? But like, bro, we're at 2 hours and 39 minutes.
What?
I know.
Already?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
No, you're great. Dude, I'm telling you already, people are going to love this. And I don't care if we go for 4 hours. I don't give a shit.
What time is it?
I don't know. I don't have my watch on me. So you tell me. You got the
6:55.
Oh yeah, we're good.
No, we're good.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, so
I was thinking like an hour and a half, man. I had no idea that time flies, man.
I'm telling you. And that's why I wanted to get you on here, because people Bruce has been my most popular episode.
Yeah.
Talking about his shit.
Well, that's a huge thing, man. I
mean, and because he, you know, and I hope Bruce doesn't take any sort of like offense to it or anything like that. I don't think he will, but he relived it while he was
personable thing.
Yeah, he relived it while he was talking about it, and I think people are going to see the same thing when they hear you. They're going to hear this is the bread. I mean, I think every cop show you've ever watched, this is what they love to hear, and it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but this is real life. This isn't. Yeah, we're not talking the show The Wire and all that
21
stuff.
Jump Street or The Wire,
right? Or 21 Jump Street, and so the stuff you're talking about is super interesting. It's very informative, and the fact that you did it up until 2019, when people start hearing the shit, it's fresh. It's fresh shit.
Oh, it is. This is. Yeah, it's totally fresh. But
yeah,
I just don't want people to think that. I guess in talking about this that. And I had no idea, when I first became a police. When I got in with the big department, I had no idea. Truly, you think you have an idea what the narcotics world is, or the gang world, as far as law enforcement, or the fugitive unit, maybe, or what. You have no idea. You think you have an idea what those units are going to be like until you get in them.
Yeah.
In my mind, the narcotics world was going to be just like you see on TV. You're totally undercover and this and that and the other, and you're deep this and you're deep that. And it's not like that. Now, there's parts of that. I went to Oklahoma and stole an RV and brought it back to Texas and got pulled over by DPS. You can't make that shit up.
That's right.
You can't make that up.
Yeah.
This was talk about stories, man. This was one of mine. This was my dirty white boy. Calls me up one day. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to go buy an RV? Or you want to go?" I think his exact words. "Hey, you want to go steal an RV back and give it back to its rightful owner?" And I was like, "Oh my God, tell me what you got, buddy." And his street name was Buddy. And basically, there was this RV was fucking massive. It was one of those that had to be pulled by a semi-truck.
Okay.
Like the truck itself with a sleeper on it.
Okay.
And it belonged to a elderly couple in Arlington or Fort Worth.
Okay.
Some city in Tarrant County. Anyway, so this thing gets stolen, right? Well, the truck itself it's involved in a murder. It's running from the police, and
the truck pulling it.
Yes, it's fleeing from the police because it's stolen, and it's going down an alleyway, if I remember correctly. And somebody steps out legitimately, like in the street, or a car pulls in front of it, and it T-bones the car, and kills the person and the civilian. And so, of course, I don't know anything about this, and he tells me about this trailer, and he tells me this story. So I research it, and sure enough, it's the real shit. Well, I'm being told this trailer is now up in Oklahoma, and it's being used to manufacture meth, like a little meth lab in it. But the main thing was they were cooking money up in it. They got a little money press thing going on, which is also big in there in circle world. So this particular guy is going to introduce me to this AC guy. So he introduced me to this guy. This is real quick. This is like all
AC
Aryan Circle.
Okay.
This is like all in one day. Well, this whole part. It's not even big. I meet this cat real quick. The guy trusts me, whatever, and
all because they vouch for you.
Yeah, all because of Buddy.
That's crazy to me.
And so
I'm too paranoid. Fuck you.
Yeah. And so I give Bud, I'm like, hey, I need to know where this fucking trailer's at, because evidently what he told me is the truth, man. I need to know where this thing's at legitimately. If it's in Oklahoma, give me some fucking pointers on this son of a bitch, give me to that direction. So he meets with this guy, and legitimately this guy, this is all in a day. Like probably by now, this is all the next day. He writes on a piece of paper directions where this guy wants us. This guy thinks we're going up there. I have my informant tell him that I have a friend that owns a semi truck, and we're going to bring this back to him so he can get it. You know what I mean? Because they were trying to get it back down. No one has a semi to bring it back down.
Okay.
And so he's trusting my informant to make this happen, basically. It's just convoluted shit that meth heads think when they're sitting around a game room. I mean, legitimately.
Yeah.
And so I don't know anybody. So I call Jake White, who's not even in Narcotics anymore. And I call him. I'm like, hey, man, didn't you have somebody, or you knew somebody? And he's like, yeah. So he gives me in contact with a state trooper who has a commercial driver's license, a CDL, who's up in Wichita Falls, who actually has a tractor trailer up there they use for undercover operations.
Okay. I'm
like, fuck, you can't beat this. It's all working out, right?
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's working out. So I've got a commercial truck, tractor trailer, a rig.
Yeah.
I've got a driver who happens to be an undercover state trooper, narcotics guy. And I've got this guy want me to go pick up a truck. So my CI goes and meets with him, and I take my CI to go meet with this guy, and he gives him this piece of paper, and I already got like 2 cases on this other guy, so he's done. He's done. And he gives me this piece of paper, and it's got handwritten directions. This is like, I don't know, probably 2011 or 12.
Okay.
I'm on Fred Long's team, I believe, at this point. It's me, Bruce, Travis Verrett, and Sarah Stratton. It's the team of teams, man.
Yeah.
Pretty good guys, man.
Okay.
Sean Romer. But
yeah.
So we do all this, man, and I'm like, hey, I think this is legit. Let's go find this fucking truck. Let's go find this trailer, man, because this thing is stolen. There's a homicide attached to the truck.
How long have you been doing narcotics at that point?
Man, I feel like maybe 4 years.
Okay, so your rep is there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm on. I want to say I'm on TCNU by now, because that's the TCNU team. I think we turned TCNU by then.
What is it?
TCNU, Tarrant County Narcotics Unit.
Okay. Which
was kind of like the upper echelon team back then of the normal narcotics teams.
Okay.
Of the city.
While just real quick, I don't want to ruin the story, but
no,
you had mentioned HIDA earlier as well. Yeah. What is HIDA?
HIDA is the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Agency. And that's out of Irving.
It's like a hub, correct?
It's a hub. It's got multiple agencies involved. It's federally funded by the president. The president has yay or nay on their funding. It's got some DEA guys that are involved with it as well.
So the best way to describe it is, if you're, and I'll use what I know, if you're from Detroit, it's basically a hub for Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, any of these major cities in Michigan. Or wherever you're at, if you're DC, any of the major cities out there, any of the major cities. But basically, it's a hub for all of them to collaborate information and work narcotics.
Yes, and they're extremely successful.
Okay,
the guys in our city that are assigned to HIDA, man, those guys get licks like you would imagine, because they're doing phone wires and things like that. Yeah. They're dropping T's on every phone you could possibly imagine. They're tracking. They're getting big weight. Yeah. They have all the cool stuff to work with. And they're following true. They're listening to those phone calls in Mexico and all that kind of stuff. That's we're here now.
Yeah, I just want people to understand, like, hey, this is it's not just this city there, here and there. It's a major networking facility that helps all these other major hubs: Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston.
You could be
Austin.
with Arlington. You could be an Arlington officer assigned to HIDA and be in Collin County working a case,
Yeah.
And tracking it back down to Mexico. Those guys do some phenomenal work, man.
Okay.
Hands down to those guys, and our agency as well. And I'll give props to our RO office in downtown. Those guys, huge licks, man.
Yeah.
And putting some weight into it, man.
Okay.
To get that weight.
I just wanted the listeners. I want them to kind of feel the whole encompassing fact, like it's bigger than you think.
Yeah, the high intensity drug trafficking agency, the HIDTA units, particular in smaller areas of communities, like you start getting the Midwest.
Yeah,
they yeah. Well, no, I'm talking smaller. When I went to that meth lab school up in Iowa, it's in a military base, and I was the biggest city in the whole damn school.
Really?
I was with Larry Carnes, Officer Carnes. That's who I went with, old school cat, from our city. And those guys thought we were like legends. They didn't even know us. It was like, oh my gosh, you guys are from this huge department. They're all from like, Dumpwater, Missouri.
Yeah.
And there's nothing against those guys.
I was one of them, man.
But those guys were legitimately working meth labs. Back then, meth labs were still blowing and going. And so you would have these tri-counties, these quad counties. You have like cross state lines, all these counties working together. All these guys, like I'm in Missouri, well, I'm in Kansas, but they work on the same team, and they're coming to me going, hey, oh my gosh, man, you must see all these massive labs, in the city as big as yours. I'm like, honestly, I did get the biggest lab in our city's history, but we see maybe one every 7 or 8 months, and it's like in a bottle.
Yeah.
You guys are doing like 2 labs a week.
They're more isolated.
It
makes sense.
The cost of meth starts getting higher and higher the further north it goes from their border. So, back then it was still cost effective for them to make their own meth. Yeah. It's not anymore. You don't see hardly any meth labs anymore, or even shake and bakes or anything like that. Yeah. Why do that when you can, like, an ounce of meth down here is freaking $350 now?
Yeah, the process is way different.
It might be $450 to $500 by the time it gets to freaking Missouri. And so if you were a meth lab guy, you still have to smurf out. What's called smurfing is when you send your cats out to steal Sudafed or whatever. Red phosphorus, everything you got to have to make this stuff. And cost effectively, it's not there anymore. Yeah. So it's just easier to use. And the Mexican meth, if it's not stepped on too much, is going to be good stuff. We crossed over what stepped on means when you. Yeah.
Anybody that's out there that's watched Breaking Bad, like that, as great a show as that was, and as educational as it is, and it's very accurate. I will tell you, as a law enforcement officer, very accurate.
I'll tell you, it is. I'm not gonna
lie. Very accurate, but it's an outdated process. That shit ain't going down. So
those guys are all down in Mexico now, man.
Yeah,
or in China. China doing this shit. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your. No. But the whole, like I said, the point of the show is to educate, and I want people to understand, and it's fun for cops to hear. I guarantee, that's the bulk of my audience anyway, is cops, and I know that, but like I said, this is a bridge a gap between the community and whatnot. And when the community people that watch this show hear the stuff that you did, and are talk about, like, they're gonna understand that it's not. And I want to get into the war on drugs. We're 2 hours and 52 minutes in. I'm not concerned because it's so.
My baby's asleep by now. Yeah, she went down at 6:30.
But my point is, as long as I think it stays interesting, and kiss my ass, that's my show. I think as long as it stays interesting,
that's all good.
I'm gonna keep going, and I want to get into that. I want to touch on.
I'm DVRing the Tampa.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
After this, I don't give a shit. After this, you and me, we'll go get tacos. I don't care.
We're doing this,
right? But I want people to hear. As long as I think it's interesting, I think we're gonna keep people listening on this one. This is Bruce has been the most. It's been the most entertaining show as far as people that have reached out to me, and then Brandy Campers.
God, Lord.
Yeah, Brandy's amazing.
Of course, I knew her before police department. Man.
Yeah, so
her excellent. We knew the same people back in the military days.
Yeah, so then you got Camper, and hers was the second most, and then I think I have a good gauge of this show, and I'm on it. I'm telling you, as we're bros.
Of course, man.
Bro, honestly, this is going to be the third best episode, if not the most watched episode.
Well, I mean, obviously that's not why I'm here, man.
I know,
mean,
and I
you
get
told
it.
me coming up, man. It's just this is an educational thing.
Yeah.
I know you told me a little bit more about like when you had the guy from SWAT that came in and was talking, you know, and you told me you had some people coming up and talking, you know, they were wanting to go to SWAT, now they're not, and you had guys that were like, I don't want to go SWAT, but now I do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of you've asked me to come on here several times and in the past, and I've kind of.
Timing just ain't worked out.
Well, it has it, and I have put a lot of thought into it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked to my wife a little bit about it, and of course, I actually called Bruce. Bruce and I are boys, man. You know, we go way back. We were partnered. We were out of the same police academy class, you know.
Yeah.
We were friends in the academy, and so when it comes to educating, and I think that's the biggest thing on a show like this, you know, it's not about TV. It's not about that lust for the bus, because the lust for the bus can get your ass hemmed up, man.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of stories, man, as do just most narcotics guys, especially guys from back. I can only imagine the guys that I looked up to when I came into narcotics. There was guys, which I never got to it, but we get to these search warrants, right? And we'd walk in, I'd have like, you know, not just me, but whoever was on my team, we'd have, you know, maybe a half, a gram, 2-3 grams of crack. We're like, woo! And we got a gun. My God, what a great day this was. You know, all this freaking work we put all this through the week. Well, we got this, and this. And then I look over, I'd see Ray Perez, God bless him, and I see Bruce Blaisdell, God bless him. Both of them were running around, still, you know, stomping butts around wherever. And they're like sitting on 2 kilos of meth. They're working by themselves over there.
Yeah.
2 keys of meth.
Don't give a shit about your.
well, they were really good guys, man.
Yeah.
And so like Ray kind of became my mentor, whether he knew it or not. That's what kind of helped me out. I'd go over to Ray when all we got done with our paperwork and all that. I'd walk over to Ray. I'd be like, tell me how you got this. Tell me how you did it. You know, and they're like, well, we did this, and this. And Ray was such a nice guy. He's just such a nice guy. Such a great guy.
Yeah.
Soft-spoken. He's a mentor in that line of work. I don't know how he was in patrol or anything, but I would just imagine. I know he was in narcotics for a long time. He knew his shit, you know. So this is, if you're wanting to better yourself in whatever line of work you're doing, you're going to find a guy that knows your shit.
Yeah.
And that was him and Bruce Blaisdell. And of course, Bruce Blaisdell's dad was an art guy too.
Yeah.
You know, that's in the family. So Ray was like the guy who told me he did this, and of course I'd go back and I'd read his reports. And I would read his verbiage, and you know, and I would talk to about how I would find out how he interviewed people. And so anybody listening to this, you know, it's, man, you got to step back outside of your own realm and go, you know what, I'm not the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
I can learn something every freaking day, and that's how I did it.
Yeah.
So I would take a lot from Bruce. I would take a lot from Ray, and then of course you got to go to, because at the time I'm just an officer. I don't, you could attest to this right now. Can you imagine writing an arrest warrant or a search warrant as just a little officer, as opposed to now as a corporal detective, as much as you've learned?
I want people to understand where my level of respect, one, for you goes. Most of my detective prowess, I don't want to sit there. I took some stuff. You know, I've been a cop 17 years. I've taken a lot from people over the years. Even my dad, who retired from PD.
Amen.
But I'm not joking when I tell people 75% of what I've taken as a detective come from you personally. Like, you've mentored me unintentionally. 75% of what I do is basically modeled after how you do the job. And I think a lot of that comes from how you've done narcotics work and everything that you've done with that. And I want people to get that I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I hear you talk as an officer, like somebody that's done the job. Like, I hear you talk about all the stuff you've done, and I sit back and I'm just like, I've got this wide scope of how law enforcement goes. I'm right here. And when you talk, I realize law enforcement's out here. And it's a kudos. It's not a,
you know, and I appreciate it. And there's lots of NARC guys out there doing the exact same thing. And then I listen to guys like Ray, and Rangel and some of those guys back in the day, and I hear about how they had to do things back in the day, and I'm like, holy cow, man! It's like, it gives you goosebumps. It's like, you did what?
Yeah,
I don't remember the whole story, but Rangel was talking to me one time about something. He was talking. I keep saying Rangel, Robert Rangel. The guy was amazing as far as NARC is concerned, and I don't know anything about him prior to NARC. I know his NARC time.
Yeah, but
he was telling me a story about how this is old school our city. They did a drug deal. They had a cartel group that had a pasture, a farm, like 30, 40 acres, with some places we call a ranch, with all horses. And they did an undercover deal on a ranch where they basically were buying dope out of saddlebags, by themselves with no cover. And that's kind of when I first came to the NARC, we made buys. It was nothing for me to go by myself, legitimately by myself with an informant to a house and go make a buy at a door. Yeah. This was early on. Yeah. Nobody thought twice about shit like that.
That shit, dude.
You didn't have 15 guys standing by. Yeah. It was stupid. Don't get me wrong. It was stupid. In hindsight, we should have had people there. And then over time, once we changed regimes, should have had a change. Yeah. I didn't, and I knew that I was legitimately told that my time was numbered. My days were numbered there. Because I kind of, even though I hadn't been there that long, I still kind of fell into that whole old school mentality. Yeah. I hadn't even been there that long. I'm like, well, I mean, I could change. Please don't find a reason to get me rid of me now. Yeah. Let me try, but adapt. And I did. I mean, the SOPs changed and rules changed. Yeah. And all this kind of stuff. But I still remember going by myself. And so would Bruce. Hell, he and I talked about that earlier today, man. About going to your house by yourself without any cover and making a buy. Yeah. Because that was just how it was.
Yeah. That's a culture of policing.
It was. Yeah. Because in our mindsets back then was, there's a certain risk for everything we do. We're cops. Yeah. When I go to a house on a domestic or something, patrol officer, I was patrol 7 years, mainly midnights and east in the east side of the city. You just don't think about it, and God, hats off to all the patrol officers out there, especially nowadays, man. Yeah. There's a propensity for violence to guys like us, and when you're narcotics, you just go and you just do your job. And unfortunately, you don't think about, well, shit, man, I walk up to the house. What if they asked me to come in? What would I have done then? Yeah. More than likely, you're going to go in because you got what? Got less for the bust. Yeah. Especially when you're a young dope cop and you're trying to make a name for yourself. Which leads me back to when I got kidnapped and sexually assaulted on a on a drug deal one time. Which, if you want to talk about that one, that's along with ZT. They love to talk about.
Okay, I do want to talk about that story. We're at 3 hours, so no, we're fine. Because I believe we're going to keep people interested. So before we get into that, let's do that story next. And what I want to get into is, one of the big questions is going to be, especially today, what is the war on, and I say this loosely, what is the war on drugs doing? The argument is, let's just legalize everything and we won't have the violence. We won't have the problems we have. We won't have burglars. We won't have any of that. Well, let's just legalize it and it won't be an issue. So as a person who is constantly, you've been in law enforcement, you're still here today, you're catching people every day, you've done the narcotic side of things and you've gotten out of the narcotic side of things and you're still enforcing the law. If I were to pose to you that if we just legalized everything, we wouldn't have any problems.
Well, I mean, obviously that's bullshit. Okay, I know what you're getting at because I've heard it since, and I'm older than you. I remember the original Bush president, the George Bush Sr. coming out and his wife. The whole say no to drugs policy and all that stuff. Yeah. I was a kid when all that came out, the war on drugs and all that. I mean, it initially came with Reagan and Nancy Reagan.
So as a person who's a frontline guy, who's been there, not just as a cop, but as a person who's a undercover and been indoctrinated into the culture of that. What do you say?
And this is also not just from the law enforcement side, and you as well. We've all got friends that have addictions and And, I've gone up until, obviously up until a summer and a half ago, I was in a drug rehab. I wasn't, but one of my best friends growing up, and I went to Austin to a drug rehab with my friend's wife and another one of our friends to see him. It's affected all of us. It's been affecting my life, my friends and my family since I was a kid. If drugs was truly like alcohol, when I say drugs, I'm talking about true drugs, whether it's heroin.
I love it.
I still call it heroin.
I know. I get you.
If it's heroin,
what is it? Is it boy? Is that the other one?
Boy and girl. Yeah, girls cocaine powder and boys as black tar powder, but capsulized. But whether it's heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, all that stuff, particularly cocaine or particularly heroin and methamphetamine, the majority of, and I would say as much as 95% of the population that's actually truly addicted to it, and there's no wavering on heroin and methamphetamine as far as addiction. You can't have a normal life. You cannot function as a normal human being. I.e., you can't work. You can't function as a father or as a wife. And you can't be for your children. You can't raise children. And so to say that if we just legalize everything and make it so that, whatever, man, this guy wants to go smoke a bowl. Well, this guy's going to smoke a bowl of meth legally. He can go to his local repository, whatever it's called, and get whatever he wants to get. He's not going to be able to work, and he's damn sure not going to be. And if he can get it whenever he wants, instead of doing in my experience, and I was deemed what I'm trying to say here. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to meth, man. As far as usage is concerned in the court system. Yeah,
an expert.
I was an expert witness. Yeah. I was deemed that several times through Tarrant County courts. And before you become that, they always have to set you down and ask you without a jury there, talk about this, talk about that. And I did. And I had no qualms doing it. And you're an expert witness as far as this next trial is concerned.
Yeah.
And so, and I only got that way because I wasn't just the cop that would, pop somebody for some whatever. I wanted to know, man, tell me, how much do you smoke a day, man? Oh, you smoke X amount? Okay, well, tell me about somebody that smokes this amount. I wanted to find their mindsets. Well, tell me and I wanted to find out more about meth. That's when I found out that meth had a shelf life. I had no idea meth had a shelf life.
I didn't know that till right now.
I didn't either, which really helped in a lot of my cases because I would get some guy with like an ounce of meth, and, so you got some guy with like 30 grams basically, and you find out from these meth heads that meth has a shelf life. Okay, well, tell me more about that. Well, meth is basically cooked from shit underneath your kitchen sink, and all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And so over time, it immediately starts breaking down like any chemical would.
Yeah.
So as soon as you buy it, if it's still got that moisture in it, that wet, man, that shit is fire, man. Dog, that's just good. You know what I'm saying? But next day rolls around. Next day rolls around. Guess what it's doing chemically? It's breaking down molecularly. Isn't that right?
The whiskey's hitting.
The whiskey's hitting a little bit. Plus, it's been a little while since I've been to those classes, man. I've been to the advanced meth lab courses and all that stuff. And that was in Kansas City, Missouri. And that was me and Bruce. Went to Kansas City, Missouri for a week for the advanced meth lab course, where it was all about the actual makeup of methamphetamines, the molecular breakdown, which was it was like whoop right over our heads.
Nice.
But what I'm getting at though, for anybody listening to this, if you know that kind of stuff, which in the beginning, in a lot of my cases, particularly patrol, I didn't know that. So when you arrest somebody and say they have an ounce of meth and you want to put, manufacture and deliver on them instead of a possession charge, the defense attorneys immediately is going to be going, oh my God, all he had was an ounce. How is this manufacture and deliver? Well, of course, manufacture and deliver is a charge you put on people that are distributing on the streets, right? We all know that. Well, if you can get up on the stand and articulate that, meth has a shelf life, it breaks down over time. So a actual user is not going to buy, I don't know of a fucking user that's going to buy more than an 8 ball, 3.5 grams or so of meth, because why would you, if you smoke meth, why would you spend that amount of money to buy an ounce if you know that by the time you got to the half of it, it was going to be weak?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You want that fire.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to get on stand and articulate that this is why, because I know, the average meth user uses between half a gram to a gram of meth a day. And that, if they got more than 4 to 5 grams, by the time they get, a week into that, the rest of the stuff is going to be, it's going to be bunk. It's going to be, well, not necessarily bunk, but it's going to lose its potency. So why would you buy that much?
Yeah.
No, you're just going to buy enough to get you through the next 3 or 4 days. And then you're going to buy, some more later on. And especially if you're dealing. So if you get somebody with, an ounce, that doesn't seem like a lot, because honestly, it's not in the grand scheme of things. But that's somebody that's going to be pushing off several grams. He's selling that. He's not there. He's not using that amount.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And so when I finally, that's from asking questions from your CIs, and finding out. I don't want you just buying stuff. I want you to school me too, man.
Yeah.
I want that knowledge, man. Knowledge is power, man. It definitely got me the power when it comes to the judges. The judges love me.
So with that knowledge, tell me about your sexually assaulted.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. And that's funny. What made me say that comment earlier about people coming in the office and going, "Hey, I remember such and such." There was somebody that came in. I don't remember who it was. He came through our detective's office, and he was like, "Hey, what's up? I haven't seen you in forever. I remember when you got sexually assaulted," or he said signal 5.
Oh shit!
And I was like, but I recognized him. Like, oh, were you ZT back there? He was like, yeah, I was ZT. He was on my takedown team.
Yeah.
Well, I had a CI call me once. I was like, hey man, I got this guy. One of them's Texas Syndicate, which is a Mexican prison gang, and I've got a guy that's there was 2 different gangs that were wanting to sell. They were trying to push. They broke up like 2 or 3 keys of meth, and they're just trying to push it off. He's like, hey, this guy wants push off like a quarter. And I'm like, 4 ounces. I'm like, okay, well, find out our price, let me know something. So I'm out with my team, and we're on something else. Totally on something else. I'm helping another officer on a search warrant.
Okay.
So the day's working through and all this good stuff, and my CI calls me, and he's like, hey man, he or she, I don't remember what it was. And honestly, I don't recall on this one. He's like, hey, this guy's loaded, man. He's ready to go, and they want to meet you. I was like, okay. So my sergeant at the time was Mike Decker, one of the greatest sergeants in the world, and he was a really good guy. And he knew who we were as far as officers. He knew if you could trust us, if you couldn't trust us. He's like, well, he was already on this thing over here. He's like, hey, you think you can do this? And I was like, I'm good. He's like, because I'm on this right now. As soon as we get done with this, I'll come out there. I'm like, okay, cool. I told him what was going on. The guy, I set it up. Of course, you want the ball in your court,
Yeah.
So I set it up. I said, I'll meet him, whoever's selling. I said, I'll meet him at Twin Peaks over at 35 in Western Center. And this is it was on a Thursday, which is a drinking day for most people, evidently. And, in Twin Peaks at the Western Center and 35 is a really busy place.
Yeah.
And all these restaurant bars right there, And it was like, 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 when people getting off, So, I get there and I'm by myself, and I'm not by myself. I don't have a supervisor, and I bring like a lot of my guys come. Some of the guys, undercover guys, and of course I call zero tolerance guys, ET guys for my cover and all this kind of stuff. And so I have all these guys showing up. I'm just going to meet this person in this bar at Twin Peaks, and I'm gonna. I think it's Twin Peaks. Yeah, pretty much 100% positive that's what it was. And I want to set this deal up. I'll do a quick deal. I had the money on me. I had, it's too simple, man. It's like that. Like it's not, So I meet who shows up, ends up being a female. So she meets me at the bar, and I've got 2 or 3 undercovers at the sitting down. This place is packed full of people, so it's perfect. So I'm at the bar, and I'm talking to this person, and I have 0 wire on me. The whole thing is I don't have a wire on me. So I was specifically told not to do anything that requires somebody listening in, which I'm totally down for. Fuck yeah. I mean, I'm not getting, I'm not going to anybody's house or anything, This is all going to be a real quick deal, just like we've done a million times, I see the dope in the parking lot, I'm like, I give the hand signal or whatever I decide upon with my guys on the team through text message. Guy gets taken in the parking lot, no big deal. It's for 4 ounces. It's not like freaking 20 keys of meth. So I'm talking to this girl. She's got some legitimately some 17, 18-year-old kid who keeps piping up whenever she and I are talking. She's an older school cat, and this kid's annoying the fuck out of me, man. So I tell him basically, go fuck yourself. You're pissing me off. Get the fuck out of here. And he does, because he's a kid. And she realized that I was getting pissed. I showed her, I brought half the money with me inside. So I'm at the bar, I'm having a drink, and I show her half the money. I'm like, hey, here's half the money, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, cool, man. The stuff's out here. I'm just waiting on the phone call. I'm like, right on. So the phone, they're here. Oh, right on. So I text out to my boys. I'm like, hey, man, they're here. Da, 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 da. I'm going to walk outside. And so I go outside with her and this douchebag, and we get in the parking lot. And I know my guys are there for 100%. And they've already moved. I know how it works. They've already moved in some cars also. So they're watching from cars. So I'm standing, there's an empty parking spot, and there's this 1960 something model pickup truck that pulls up. It backs up right beside us. It's got a Hispanic guy driving, and he never gets out. And he's just looking at us. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. This is getting a little deep now. It's going to be some security. That's what I'm thinking. It looks like security. So I'm bullshit, and it's getting a little awkward. You know what I mean? This isn't going anywhere like I thought it was going to. I thought I was going to walk out, meet some dude in the parking lot, buy 4 ounces of meth, and we're fucking done. And I leave. Here's your money. Take bingo, bingo, bingo. Everybody comes down. Woo, everybody goes to jail, right? So we're standing next to this parking spot. Well, this car pulls up. It's I don't remember the car it was, but it pulls up, and it's got a dude driver, a dude passenger, front passenger, a dude passenger in the backseat, and a female in the backseat. So she's like, hey, these are friends of mine. I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is who I'm supposed to be talking to. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What's up, man? What? I just talked to her. She's got my money. What's going on, man? I got the rest of it over here. I just want to see what's up, man. What you got? That kind of talk, like, let me see. I just want to see it. They've already seen my fucking money. Just let me see what the fuck you got, right? Well, like, oh, we don't got it, man, out here, man. Just give me a second, man. Just give me a second. I'm like, oh, man, I'm getting that funny feeling. I'm like, I'm about to get rolled, dude. I've already shit on my money. They're not showing me nothing. I'm about to get jacked. But it's daytime. We're in the middle of a parking lot. There's a million people around. So I'm like, man, odds are for me right now. You know what I'm saying? And so fast forward to, 10 minutes, this brand new Audi pulls up right in front of us. And it's got these 2 guys in the front seat. It's a little 4-door car, but it's brand new. It's badass. And these guys look like freaking, their faces are totally tatted up, completely over, man. I'm like, okay, there's the Texas Syndicate guy. He's got the horns tattooed on his back of his head, And they're like, hey, what's up, man? What's up? I'm like, hey, what's up, dog? What you got going on? I'm like, oh, what's up? They've already seen my money, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just think it's shit and get out of here, man. I said, I've been down here for a minute, man, already. I said, I'm by myself, dog. What's up, man? You got all these guys up on me, you know what I'm saying? And like, oh, no, man, it's all good, man. Just get in the car with me. Because I'm by myself. Yeah. They got all these guys now. It's a whole theatrical thing going on here for 4 fucking ounces of dope. What's up with this? And I know my guys are got to be going like, they're got to be getting freaked out a little bit because I don't have that many people, and I got a lot of people now. That's playing in this game now. And so I screwed up. And it goes back to what I said earlier, man, that lust for the bust, because at some point in time you think, because I'd already, we don't have time for the story, but I had a guy pull a gun on me, and I was able to, when I was in a little meth house once with this AB guy, I was able to talk my way through that and actually make the buy and then bust them all later on with another second buy the same day. You have that stuff in your head. And so at this one, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to, whatever, man, I got this, So he said, hey, get in the back seat. Well, I don't have a wire on. Nobody can hear me. There's no fucking way I'm getting in the backseat. I'm like, nah, dog, it's all good. So, it's all good. I'm like, I'm not going to get your car, man. It's all good. Like, hey, man, just get in the car. We're just going to talk. We ain't going to go nowhere. So I screwed up bigger than shit, man. I climbed in the back seat, but I didn't close the door, So I'm sitting there. I got the door open so I can jump out. And I'm talking to these guys. And
now this is nothing you've been trained on. This is just instinct.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is experience.
All right, this is me thinking as a guy that's never done your job. And obviously, there's citizens listening to this, but I'm trying to let people know, like, me as a cop, you're telling me the story. You get in the back seat, like, I can tell you honestly, I wouldn't have thought to leave the door open. So
yeah, well, I did because in my mind, I already knew that I was already screwing up.
right. So
I was screwing up big time, and I didn't think about it. This could be what would ruin my narcotics career. But what was thinking, what the big thing in my head was, no matter what they throw at me, I can get past it, and I can make this case go through. I can get the dope one way or the other, and we'll all be winners. You know, my team, we're going to get walking home with some dope. We'll have some stats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking of it. I'm like, all right, that would have been like, all right, I get in the car and my dumb ass.
But you don't have
I end up being a statistic.
Yeah, but you don't have a wire. You know, the whole thing is you don't do something like that unless people can hear the conversation inside the car.
Right.
You know, if I get in this car, nobody can see me now. They have no idea what the conversation is, which goes towards my rest of my story. And I remember they said the driver who was looking at me through the rear view, which was really creepy because all I could see was like this longhorn tattoo in the back of his head. He said something like the fact that I recognize you, man, from somewhere. Where do I know you from? And of course, my immediate reaction is I'm thinking, oh, fuck, man, I'm getting set up here. These guys knows I'm a cop, you know? And then he says, like, hey, what unit you with? You're in prison, you know?
Okay.
And
I would have been like,
well, in all honesty, my mind was so blown by then. I was just like, I couldn't think of it. I had so many, back in the day, I could bark off all kinds of stuff, you know? And I couldn't then, and I was already going downhill mentally a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, I said, I'm not here for all this kind of talk. You know, I said, man, I already told you once, you know, I'm by myself. What's up, man? I got my money. I said, I got some on me right now. I can get the rest of it right now. Y'all already seen it. And like, hey, you're right. Well, that's when he takes his foot off the gas, off the brake. He starts rolling a little bit. He's like, hey, we're just going to drive around a little bit. I should have jumped the heck out right then. And I didn't. Instead, my dumb ass lets the door close. And it was, you know, in hindsight, I was like, I'd never, ever do that again.
Yeah.
And because I have a ZT team that's there as my rescue team. So I know they have a raid van. They have all the cool tools that's going to rescue me. What do they see? They see me get into a car and drive off. That's all they freaking see. Can you imagine what's going through I know as an officer, can you imagine?
No.
If you saw something like that happen, what's going on inside that car at that moment? Oh my God, dude. It just breaks my heart, man, for those guys that were part that I subjected that to.
Yeah.
You know, and so the car takes off and we drove legitimately. We just drove around. They were testing me the whole time, asking me all kinds of stupid questions, which I did my thing. We got all the way back around in the parking lot. And this is like, we got to think, this is Western Center. You have like 20 freaking bars and restaurants. All the parking lots are together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like one big street. So we get back and we went right back to where we started from. I opened the door up, you know, and it's almost a done deal. They're about to go they said they're going to get the shit or whatever. And I'm like, well, you get it. I'll get the rest of my money and we're golden. Right on. And then the guy says, hey, what the fuck is that? And he's looking at the rear view. And this is all I did. I turn around in my seat. I look over my shoulder and I see a van or a patrol car, one of the two, is coming like 9 miles an hour. It rams the back of the car. They're doing a takedown. They're rescuing me, man.
Oh shit!
Because God bless them, you know.
Yeah.
They had no idea, and that's my fault. They had no clue, man. And what does this guy do? Fucking guns it with me still in the back seat, and the door slams shut with me in the back seat. So he takes off, right? And we're in this parking lot. He's going 100 miles an hour. And I immediately come out of roll. I have to, man, because 35 is right there. And this guy, his partner, is like, get to the highway, get to the highway, get to the highway, get to the highway. So I'm not going to take my hat off, but I got about an inch and a half or so scar, about an inch or so scar on my forehead. Because I like lean forward into the front seat and my feet are like up in the back window of the back seat. This is a brand new Audi car, man. It's a really nice car. And I'm telling them, I'm a freaking cop. I'm a freaking cop. Stop the fucking car, blah, blah, blah. I'm yelling at these guys, right? And I'm like palming the driver or the passenger in the face because I know there's a gun somewhere in here, man, you know, and I'm by myself in this car. It was bad news. And I'm trying to, at the same time, I'm trying to throw this vehicle into park.
Yeah.
And I cannot wrap my mind around, because I'm not looking at the gear shift. I'm just pushing on it, and it's not moving, right?
Yeah.
And so we're flying to this parking lot, and there's we're behind some bar, and we're being chased, obviously. And there's some car there, and we T-boned it, legitimately T-boned this car, and which launched me forward into the front seat, and I smashed my face against the dashboard, which ripped my forehead open. So now I got blood, because it's a forehead. It's super. This blood's pouring down my face. And, oh God, man! And, I mean, it just went to shit real quick, right? And he somehow he hit that car so hard it spun. Our car was not immobilized somehow, and he's flying, and I can see the entrance. The exit onto the service road. I-35 is right there north towards Denton. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, something's got to give here, man. You know, and so I basically tell, I don't remember if it was the driver or the passenger, but I'm gonna shoot you in your head. You know, because I had my heater out, and that's when I happened, by the grace of God, man, I happened to legitimately look at the gear shift on the transmission as we were getting to the service road. I threw the car in the park. The gear shift went all funky. You had to go right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To work it up. And I instantaneously, I heard the transmission basically turn to soup. You know, and we got onto the service road. We're still driving. We're still going pretty good. We still got a pretty good clip, you know. But it's the cars in park, you know, and I can see patrol cars coming both directions now. You know, I'm like, I do not want to be in this fucking car when it gets hammered by these officers.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know, there might be some who don't know who I am.
Right.
I don't want to be thought of as
you don't look like a cop.
Yeah. So I've got this really badass picture of me diving out of the side of this car on the service road. And it's like 25 miles an hour on the GPS on the camera. I'm just trying to get the hell out of the car, man, onto the service road, because these guys are they're thinking I got kidnapped.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing a rescue. And so, in all honesty, thank God, nothing. They did a tactical on the vehicle. They assaulted the vehicle. And unfortunately, my dope was in the car.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a wooden pistol, like with tape on it. Like, so that made me think they might have tried to rob me. They might have intended to rob me. But they were just going to play me out to see how I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had the dope there, but if we can rob this guy and get his money, you know, we might go that route. They just didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And of course, the driver and the passenger immediately trying to flip. They try to be little bitches, you know, and work for me.
Yeah.
But I remember the supervisor showing up on the scene, and by then, Scott Sykes had put a butterfly bandage on my forehead, stopped the bleeding and all that, and cleaned my face off real quick. And everybody was checking on me, you know, and my heart was going. My adrenaline dump was there, you know, at that point.
Absolutely.
Like, oh my God, I was fine during the incident, but it was that adrenaline dump. And of course, first thing I ask everybody, is there dope in the car? Is there dope in the car? You know, because that fucking stupid ass lust for the bust.
Yeah.
I found out there was. I was happy. The supervisor shows up, and he was on the way anyway. The guy was amazing. Yeah. And he asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, I'm fine. And he knows how I am. He knows that I try. I'm always by the book. And he was like, would you ever do this again? I said, no, sir. I said, I didn't intend for it. I promise it'll never happen again. He was like, okay. And this was back in the day. You know, this was a long time. This is a while back. And it doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I would never do that again. And I would tell, I learned, you know, it was a very hard lesson, you know. I shouldn't have even had to learn. I should have known better. But I think just about any narcotics officer that's worth his weight in salt, you know, has got a story similar to that where he did something completely stupid. Yeah. And thank gosh he didn't take my NARC career from me, because I had a lot more dope take off the street later on down the road. But he was just, you know, and he knew that he could trust my word. I would never do that again, you know.
Damn.
But from that point forward, though, it got that I would next thing I know, jokingly, that I was signal 5'd and sexually assaulted and kidnapped and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause I had that. Yeah. Anyway, good times, man.
So to end this, all right, we're at 3:30 basically, but to end this, for anybody out there that says the war on drugs is a waste of time, like let's say we were to legalize everything,
right?
If we legalize everything, this is as extreme as it gets. If we were to legalize everything, would we still have issues?
Oh, for sure, man. And you're talking to a guy that I'm a proponent for marijuana. I really am. But the problem with marijuana, it's not the same marijuana that was around when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you're talking about 0.5 or whatever, THC levels, not 1.5, but 2 or 3% THC levels.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 30 plus THC levels. And, and so when I do these interviews with these guys, even back then, and even as a detective now, you talk to them like, so what happened, man? So what made you do X, Y, and Z? And like, well, we were sitting around the house and so brought some Purple Passion in, man, some BC Bud. And we were playing, Grand Theft Auto, and we just thought we were going to go rob some people. And it's because the marijuana is so strong now that it's not just going to make you hungry. You want to go get like a 6-pack of tacos from Taco Bell. It's
amen.
Yeah, right on, man. It's totally different now, and so that in itself creates its own dilemma. It's like we're going to legalize marijuana, but are we going to legalize to the point that we have to have potency levels of it? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's okay to have it as long as you're under 20% THC levels. Because anything after that, you might start having some effects that mimic methamphetamine, or pills or something, something that's going to increase your anxiousness or anxiety, make you be more active like meth would do, and as far as heroin and meth, I kind of touched on that earlier. If you legalize it, these are narcotics that people cannot function as humans,
right?
And and when you do that suddenly, and you make it okay to go smoke a bowl of meth or shoot up a syringe of heroin or whatever, or take some buy capsules, some black tar heroin crushed up in the powder.
Yeah,
if you do that, you're going to have nothing but legalized people who are legally getting drugs that are doing nothing because they can't work.
Yeah.
Because it's such a hard addiction. These guys are criminals now. You're legalizing, you're allowing these people now, you're giving them the okay to go break into houses.
Yeah.
Do whatever they possibly can to victimize your taxpayers.
Yeah.
And your good citizens. And so, no, I think that no matter what it is, you have to continue the fight. Because even if you're just getting 1 or 2 steps ahead every day, that's something. That's still keeping them running. And we can see, without getting on what's going on the border right now, you can see what's going on our border right now. As soon as you drop your guard just a little bit, take advantage of it. People go 10 times over, and that's what would happen in the narcotics world if we were to legalize it.
All right.
So that's my opinion on it.
I appreciate, somebody that was on the front lines as far as I'm concerned. So thanks for coming out, buddy.
Yeah, man. Maybe next time, if I get back on, maybe not as much whiskey. I don't drink as much as I used to.
No,
so.
Dude, this is. I promise you, we're at 3 minutes 31 minutes. I'm sorry, 3 hours 31 minutes. I know my show. This is going to be one of the most popular episodes. I promise.
Oh, good, man.
And I'm glad we did.
And a shout out to everybody that's still in narcotics now, man. I just got to do a shout out now. I know I'm a nobody. I'm just another guy in the NARC world, man. We all got our stories. I was just fortunate enough to come in from a little bit earlier realm. Where things could have been a little bit funner.
You had a good transition, so
I got to kind of see a little bit of both worlds. But we're all at the end of the day, everybody's got a job to do in the NARC world, gang world, and patrol world, man.
Yep,
so,
I agree. Well, thanks for coming out, buddy.
Yes,
a little
sir.
Fist bump. This is how we end every episode. And then we got our fun outro music that you'll get to hear. This episode of the podcast has been brought to you by flocksafety.com/2cops. That's FLOCKSAFETY.com/2 and the word cops, COPS. Flocksafety.com/2cops. And I'm also announcing that they are releasing a brand new device on October 19th. I can't share any of the details here, But think, what if you could solve gun violence like a drive-by shooting, car break-ins in real time, fights that break out, reckless driving? Well, you're going to want to check out their virtual product launch to find out how this brand new device will help you solve crimes in progress. Register for their virtual product launch on October 19th, and you can use Flock Safety to help you and your agency solve more crimes in real time. That's the bonus part, in real time, guys. One more time, check out flocksafety.com/2cops.